Test one, two, test one, two. Let's see if this actually is working. Let me check. All right, looks good. Looks good on my end. Okay, so maybe I need to change the title of this stream. The title's kind of bleak. Let's see. Let me change the title. Or all right, one of my editors can change the title. I guess I don't really care. So listen, shit's not going good. Gaza. So I was doing some research because I wanted to cover the whole charity scandal where Ethan Klein brought on a Palestinian, and then he said donate to Gaza, and he sent like a link to his own personal charity. So I was looking at some of these charities, and just the type of aid that's actually needed in Gaza is so dismal right now. It's so bleak to look at what is needed in Gaza because there's enough aid in Gaza. It's just that Israel is preventing the aid from getting through. So this is a video that I was watching. Let's check this out.
A U.S.-backed group is set to take over aid distribution in Gaza. Here's what we know. The group is called the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. It is supported by Israel, and it is run by former U.S. military as well as humanitarian officials. The group is going to distribute food assistance in hubs in southern Gaza as well as in the center of Gaza and hope to feed about 1 million Palestinians, they say, at the beginning. Then, over time, it will expand the hubs that it has, including to the north of Gaza. Now, aid groups say that this approach will not work for them, that it violates humanitarian principles because it is going to essentially force people to move to the assistance, causing forcible displacement. There are a lot of questions swirling about how this group will operate as well as who is going to run it. Their director, Jake Wood, just resigned days before they say that they are going to start working. It is also unclear who is going to fund this group. The group has said that there is an EU country that has pledged $100 million, but it is unclear who that country is. So there are a lot of questions right now about how this is going to work. Will it work? And they say that they are just days away from beginning operation.
Okay, so they're days away from beginning the operation, and then we see what happens when they actually do begin the operation.
Thousands of Palestinians in southern Gaza have stormed and overrun an aid distribution hub of a controversial US-backed Israeli scheme that has been condemned by the United Nations and by local humanitarian groups. Witnesses described a scene of chaos near Rafah as crowds broke down fences and seized food parcels. Warning shots were fired by Israeli soldiers. Well, Israel doesn't allow international journalists, including the BBC, to report from inside Gaza, but we do rely on trusted local freelancers.
They don't allow international journalists to report inside Gaza. Okay. And then they want to be given the benefit of the doubt. Reporting inside of Gaza is anti-Semitic. So, just right off the bat, of course, this is just in service of ethnically cleansing Gaza. There are already aid distribution centers set up, and aid comes to the people where they live. They don't have a center set up in the middle of nowhere and then say that everyone's going to have to relocate to try to get food and walk like the 5 miles that they need to get to that aid center and then walk back to their house every day. It's that, this is set up in order to ethnically cleanse all of the Palestinians in Gaza. They are shutting down aid distribution centers that already exist where they are in the cities where people actually live and the aid's coming to them. They're shutting down those centers, and instead they're getting a basically like paramilitary organization, this GHF that was just created, which is made out of like American mercenaries trying to just kill Palestinians if they get too rowdy. And we do see that Palestinians were killed in this scenario. So, like, everything about this is horrible.
Our correspondent Lucy Williamson reports from Jerusalem.
Hunger has its own rules, and food offers its own kind
How's
of
it going,
security.
everyone?
Gaza's new aid distribution hub near Rafah, overrun today, hours after opening. Its fences trampled, its food parcels seized.
And let's get one thing straight right off the bat. This is a good thing that this aid distribution center was overrun, because fuck this aid distribution center. They're giving way too little aid coming out. And the idea that they're trying to draw people around and relocate people with aid, using aid as like an incentive to relocate and basically a tool of ethnic cleansing, is absolutely disgusting. And this plan should be rejected at every turn, at every single point of implementation. So even though like this ended up being like a very sad and violent day because Israeli soldiers were shooting Palestinians that were just trying to get food, and they killed Palestinians that were just trying to get food, even though this was supposed to be a sterile zone where Hamas didn't exist and it was just citizens. It was just civilians, non-combatants. Like, this is a fucking tool of ethnic cleansing, and it's such a disgusting thing to see Palestinians being like made to jump through all of these hoops just so they don't starve to death. So I love seeing I love seeing the people in Gaza breaking this down and just basically rejecting this phony aid distribution plan, which Israel is just doing to do the absolute bare minimum to say that, no, we are allowing aid. We're just trying to make sure so that Hamas doesn't get their hands on it. Yeah, it is a war crime.
Not even warning shots from Israeli troops nearby interrupt the crowd.
Also, fuck the BBC. They say it's warning shots. There was like 40 people dead from this. Absolutely insane, the framing here. Look at this. They're reporting on this. They call it warning shots. During the distribution, guards initially subjected recipients to intense searches, but later loosened security. Two sources monitoring the distribution told The Intercept. Remember, this is supposed to be a sterile zone where Hamas doesn't exist, because the whole pretense for this is if we just give aid to Gazans, just in general, then Hamas is going to steal the aid, and I guess the Hamas soldiers are going to eat food, so we can't have that. So we need to have a sterile zone where Hamas doesn't exist, and just the civilians are going to be able to eat food. But then they're subjecting the civilians to intense searches and then also shooting at them. At that point, the crowd began to storm the distribution site, attempting to receive the aid. Gunfire rang out at the site, prompting crowds to flee. At least 3 people were killed, and 47 others were injured amid the gunfire and overcrowding conditions, according to reports citing Gaza officials. An additional 6 people were killed and 15 others were wounded by gunfire on Wednesday while attempting to receive aid at a site north of Rafah, according to officials. Elsewhere in the Strip, the Kizan Rashwan area, airstrikes killed 6 who were headed further south to receive aid, officials also said on Wednesday. So fuck the BBC for saying they were just firing warning shots, when literally 3 people were fucking killed due to the gunfire and 47 others were injured, also probably due to the gunfire. And when they're going to say that it's the overcrowding conditions, I mean, we'll see this video evidence, but yeah, when you start firing into a crowd of people, you're going to create a panic. It wasn't I'm really curious to see the Israeli news articles written about this to see how fucking racist it is, but like, the overcrowding conditions was caused by shooting into the crowd. That's what caused the crowd surge and people to get injured. Like, you can see how actually organized it is when they take the aid out.
We want to eat. We are hungry. We've been humiliated with the communal
How's it going,
kitchens and the lack
avocado?
of water and everything. Look what they put here for us.
Inside the boxes, rice, pasta, jam, beans and tuna. Carefully unpacked, proudly displayed. After an 11-week Israeli aid blockade, these simple parcels are prizes. The new specially built hubs meant to secure Gaza's aid, Israel says, and stop it being stolen by Hamas. But the armed American guards securing the site melted away today. The US-backed foundation behind the plan said its staff fell back to allow Gazans to take the aid safely.
We've got it. We are patient and resilient people. People who want to live, hungry people, who must be satisfied. Glory to God.
Some in Gaza accuse Israel of using aid distribution to boost military control, and Hamas has warned people to stay away.
Did they say some in Gaza have accused Israel of doing that?
Some in Gaza accuse Israel of using...
Dude, I'm accusing Israel of doing that. What the actual hell? This framing is so disgusting. Like, they're just going to casually mention, oh yeah, Israel doesn't allow any BBC journalists to enter the Gaza Strip. You're just going to like casually say that and then not really remark on it anymore? Oh, but we have some Gazan journalists that have been bravely recording, even though Israel targets journalists and tries to kill them, like especially the Palestinian ones.
Aid distribution to boost military control, and Hamas has warned people to stay away. But the scenes here today have proven that hunger weighs heavier than fear. Lucy Williamson, BBC News, Jerusalem.
I mean, you're going to say that some people in Gaza have said that Israel's using starvation as a tactic for ethnic cleansing? That's literally what they did. They did an 11-week blockade on all aid going into the Gaza Strip, starving people to death, and then they released some aid into basically the part of Gaza that they want Palestinians to relocate to. And then, of course, Palestinians are going to go there. That is a tool of ethnic cleansing. So we can read a little bit more on this article, The Intercept. So gunfire rang out, an additional 6 people were killed and 15 others were wounded by gunfire on Wednesday. So this is now 9 people dead because of the IDF and this GHF Foundation shooting at them when they were just trying to get food. Hundreds injured. 6 people were killed in an airstrike when they were heading to receive the aid. So yeah, I don't want to hear any of this fucking bullshit where it's like Israel's just trying to stop Hamas from getting the aid. That's where they're shooting at a hungry crowd that they explicitly said was a civilian-based crowd and was a sterile zone where Hamas couldn't get in. The whole point of this aid distribution is so Hamas doesn't get it. Like how tell me how exactly you're going to stop Hamas from getting aid. Even if people go in, they get the aid, they get the food. What's to stop Hamas from just like being like, hey, can I have some of that flour? Can I have some of those pancakes? Like, it's just a ridiculous premise on its face. Geneva-based Euromed Human Rights Monitor confirmed on Tuesday the death of 1 individual and said the 47 injured were wounded by bullets fired by both the Israeli military and the US-based private security firms. Doesn't seem like it's due to overcrowding. The 47 injured were wounded by bullets, so they just started shooting into the crowd. Holy fuck. The group said Israeli military soldiers had entered the site to fire on the crowd. Wow. I mean, it's just so fucking dark, man. It's so, like, it's literally just shooting fish in a barrel. Starving people, and then when they go to your aid distribution center that you explicitly set up to give them food, you just basically strip search them to the point where no one's getting any food. If you spend like 10 minutes per person, what the hell do you expect? Of course they're going to rush the aid distribution site. And then you use that as an excuse to just start shooting them? Absolutely disgusting. Videos posted to social media showed thousands of people rushing toward the distribution site. The crowd scrambled away for safety along dirt, trenches, and down fences as gunfire rang out. Footage shows. So what do we got here? Breathtaking. The moment Israeli soldiers opened fire at starved people, mostly children and women, this evening in Rafah. Reports say that many were killed and wounded and many more went missing today. So, I mean, what the fuck? In one video, a man dragging a box of aid behind him said he had walked more than 6 miles to the distribution site where he watched a young man killed in front of him. This is what happens when you try to replace the humanitarian system with a political agenda. Those thousands of Palestinians starving and desperate stormed the distribution center not because they're violent, not because that people are hungry, but because aid is being used as a weapon, not a lifeline. Exactly. No subtitles. I walked over 10 kilometers and they killed a young man in front of me. A Palestinian recounts receiving a small amount of aid from the American company in Rafah after walking a long distance under dire humanitarian conditions. Like, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Better than Hamas stealing it all. At least he is not paying for the aid. At least he's not paying for the aid, bro. His house and his entire job was blown up even before that. Gaza's been a concentration camp. Okay. So this article actually kind of sucks. They don't actually even say what the company is. Under the plan, which has the backing of U.S. and Israeli governments, civilians would be concentrated into southern Gaza in so-called sterile zones controlled by the IDF. The new nonprofit, led by a former U.S. Marine, would be the sole distributor of aid from a handful of locations. American contractors would provide security, including one group run by a former senior CIA officer. I mean, holy shit, where are all of the conspiracy theorists when you need them? You have a U.S. Marine leading a U.S.-backed nonprofit doing security for it, and then security is being run by a former CIA officer? Come on, where's Alex Jones? Where's Candace Owens? The humanitarian community worried the Israeli government would use the new aid plan as a weapon against Palestinians, who are currently facing mass starvation. Some aid experts liken the zones to a concentration camp or an internment camp, saying the plan would further displace Palestinians. Some Israeli officials said they hoped the plan would permanently expel Palestinians from Gaza. Well, at least they're not even trying to hide it anymore. What do we got here?
בעוד חצי שנה איך נראית רצועת עזה? מה קורה שם?
א', אין בחמאס נקודה כישות מתפקדת.
Wait, who is this? This is Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich. He vowed that the Gaza Strip would be destroyed within a few months and the Palestinian population would leave in great numbers to third countries, raising fears of ethnic cleansing. Bro! Oh my god, okay. I know Middle East Eye is like a really good organization at calling out the Islamophobia that's happening here, but raising fears of ethnic cleansing? I feel like people's fears should be raised by now. Like he's saying they want to do ethnic cleansing.
אין גוף שיודע לשלם משכורות, לנהל איזשהו משהו אחד, שתיים, כל האוכלוסייה מרוכזת מציר מורג ודרומה, במרחב סטרילי לחלוטין שאין בו חמאס, יש בו מענה הומניטרי, שאר הרצועה ריק. מה זה ריק? ייקח זמן לפרז אותו.
I mean, they're kind of like the dog that caught the mail car, because they're saying that the sterile zones are going to have no Hamas, and that's why Palestinians should go to those sterile zones, because then they're going to be treated like humans. But they're not treating the Palestinians like humans. They're still treating them like cattle. Like, not even cattle, a scourge that they must eliminate from the land. And so you're kind of giving the game away when you're like, go to this place because Hamas doesn't exist there and we're going to treat you nicely. But then you're like, okay, but like, we're still going to kill all of you there, right? Like, we're still going to shoot just wildly into the crowds of people that we have explicitly said Hamas doesn't exist as a part of. So when people... I mean, come on, guys. When people are talking about this and they're like, okay, but Hamas, right? Hamas is still bad and we need to fight against Hamas. You can point them to this. You can point them to the West Bank where it's, okay, well, in sterile zones, they still treat Palestinians like cattle. And if they feel like they're too unruly, they just start shooting into the crowds of people there. Is that a way to treat people if you're not trying to ethnically cleanse them, if you're not trying to genocide them, if you don't see them as subhuman? They're doing mass ethnic cleansing in the West Bank. Is that any way to treat people that are civilians, that are explicitly not Hamas? Bro, what the fuck? This guy's talking so fast.
שיקנו וצה"ל יוציא אותם החוצה. חטופינו בעזרת השם חזרו, אני מאוד מקווה בהכנעה של חמאס מאוד מהר. זה המהלך שאישרנו בעצם.
That was the move.
מתי אתה תכריז ניצחנו?
When will you declare that we are victorious? I think that within a few months it will be possible to declare our victory unequivocally
ולא להגיד אין חמאס.
and say that there is no Hamas as a functioning entity
אין איום.
and there is no threat posed from Gaza
ביום שאתה תכריז את זה,
to the citizens of Israel.
איך תראה
What will the image of victory look like?
תמונת הניצחון הזו, איך היא תראה?
אמרתי עוד פעם.
So I said again, Gaza will be completely destroyed. So he said, obviously, like, we don't have to point this out, but he says Gaza, not Hamas.
עזה חרבה לחלוטין, אגב, פשוט מכיוון שהיא...
Simply because it is one big terror infrastructure. I mean, come on. He's like, at least pretend.
כולה תשתית טרור אחת גדולה מעל ומתחת.
Above and below the surface.
פשוט חרבה.
So simply completely destroy. Okay. Like, bro, even if there are tunnels all underneath Gaza, that's terror infrastructure to you? How fucking weak of a country are you if a few tunnels are gonna fuck you up? What the hell? You can't beat moles?
לחלוטין, אמרתי, אזרחיה...
The civilians will be concentrated to the south. That's what we're witnessing right now, and they just open fired on all of the civilians beyond the Morag axis to a humanitarian zone without Hamas or terrorism. And by the way, from there they will start to leave in large numbers. Why would they start to leave in large numbers? To third countries. This will change the reality. So he's literally just describing ethnic cleansing. He's like, oh yeah, the civilians will be concentrated in the south. We're going to push all of the civilians to the south, but then also we're just going to push them out of the south. They're going to go to different countries. The history of the state for Israel for decades to come. We must invest much more in this, especially politically, vis-a-vis the United States, and get those third countries. There's a good discourse with this moving forward with them, and it should be much, much more meaningful. But again, Hamas is neither a functioning military nor a civilian entity. So what is it? Our hostages have returned, God willing, to their homes. The IDF continued to cleanse, to turn over every stone and destroy infrastructure. The citizens of Gaza are concentrated in the south, completely desperate, and understand that there is no hope there. Yeah, he's just laying it out explicitly. They're going to, we saw that. It's a completely desolate place. There's no infrastructure, there's no buildings there, it's in the middle of the desert. They're just trying to relocate people into a horrible, desolate place, which is their only chance of not dying. Then they're just going to treat them like cattle until they actually leave. This is their plan for ethnic cleansing. They're looking for relocation and starting a new life elsewhere. It puts Israel in a different place and radiates over the entire area, including this place where we are sitting. The Afra settlement. Where are they sitting in the Afra? Where's the Afra settlement? Is that in the West Bank? Yeah, it's in the northern Israeli occupied West Bank. Okay. So literally just like colonists talking about how they're going to colonize while sitting in a place that they're actively colonizing. Okay. There was a better article I read about this. So this article actually kind of sucked. The Intercept, like, they just keep saying the new nonprofit led by a former U.S. Marine. Give me details. What is this? The new nonprofit led by a former U.S. Marine. They don't actually say what the... It plans to put a fledgling nonprofit. What is it? What's the nonprofit? Why don't you say that in the article? It's kind of fucking, like, infuriating. The Gaza humanitarian... Oh, here it is. In a statement to The Intercept, the Israeli military disputed field reports and downplayed any mention of violence. Of course it did, saying its soldiers had fired warning shots in the area outside the compound. Well, that's also what the BBC said. The fucking disgusting propaganda Zionists before gaining control of the site. The Gaza Humanitarian Aid Foundation did not immediately respond. Like, I love the idea. I love the premise that Israel should have any control of a site within Gaza at all. Why? You wouldn't need to fire warning shots if you just let humanitarian aid trucks into Gaza and had the humanitarian aid distribution that's already set up in Gaza distribute the aid. The only reason you created the problem, and then you kill people as part of the solution to the problem you created, but then they don't actually just call it out that it's ethnic cleansing. The Gaza Humanitarian Aid Foundation did not immediately respond to The Intercept's request for comment. The foundation told other outlets its armed security did not fire on the crowd, but fell back when the crowd ran toward the aid before returning to the site. Oren Marmorstein, spokesperson for Israel's foreign ministry, minimized Tuesday's chaos, claiming the foundation had delivered 8,000 packages of aid to Palestinians, posting images of cardboard boxes filled with flour, pasta, grain, and oil. Humanitarian aid to the people in Gaza, not to Hamas, he captioned. Not to Hamas, Jesus Christ. The pretext for this new aid distribution regime is the theory espoused by Israel and the American government that Hamas has been stealing aid to enrich itself. Yeah, there's no evidence of that at all. Neither Israel or the U.S. has provided evidence to support such claims. Israel, however, has weaponized access to aid throughout the current war on Gaza, and the practice stretches back to at least the 1990s, but intensified in 2007 once Hamas was elected to control the Strip. Since Israel imposed its latest total blockade on Gaza on March 2nd, famine risk has spread across the region, with 1 in 5 Palestinians in Gaza facing starvation. More than 9,000 children have already been treated for acute malnutrition this year. Over the past week, 29 children and elderly people have suffered starvation-related deaths, Gaza officials said. Yeah, but just remember, according to Lonerbox, there's just no evidence that starvation happened at all. During the first week of Israel's latest offensive, Operation Gideon's Chariots, the fact they're calling just giving food to people Operation... Oh wait, no, this is their latest offensive. Operation Gideon's Chariots. So cringy. So cringy, like fascist spirituality, basically. More than 180,000 Palestinians have been displaced, the UN said. More than 600 Palestinians have also been killed in ongoing Israeli airstrikes. Just as this new assault launched, Netanyahu announced that the government would allow minimal or basic amount of aid into Gaza to avoid further international backlash. I mean, yeah, you can't simultaneously be like, oh, look at all of the aid we're doing, but then also say we're only allowing minimal or a basic amount of aid into Gaza just so that we don't get absolutely harangued on the global stage. After UN-led groups were able to deliver small amounts of aid to Palestinians, some World Food Program bakeries in southern Gaza reopened last week, only to close again after 3 days due to a shortage of flour. 13,000 workers in Gaza in the UN. So it was headed by a former U.S. Marine sniper, Jake Wood, who led aid missions to Haiti and other disaster sites around the world, and with his other organization, Team Rubicon. Wood resigned earlier this week before the new plan went into effect, saying the foundation would not be able to adhere to the humanitarian principles of humanity, neutrality, impartiality, and independence, which I will not abandon. Bro, so the one guy that actually had this aid organization set up is like, nah, this is fucked. We can't actually do this properly at all. So he quit. It's operating on $100 million budget in funding. Pressed forward on Monday without wood, loading up its aid hubs for distribution on Tuesday. Armed contractors with private security firms, Safe Reach Solutions based in Wyoming, and UG Solutions. Really love the inclusion of the name Solution in here. Really drawing parallels to Nazi Germany with these two fucking CIA-based security firms, these mercenary firms out of the US. They're like, no, we got the solutions for you. Safe Reach Solutions, he's a former CIA officer who trained right-wing Contras in Nicaragua in the 1980s. Wow, this guy stands for everything that the US supports, eventually becoming station chief in Kabul before moving to the private sector, according to an NYT investigation. Mod called Tuesday's incident a punishment dressed as a charity and called on the Israeli government to allow the UN retake control of the aid distribution process. Yeah, of course it needs to be retaken by the US aid distribution process. So, deadly Israeli fire kills at least 10 Palestinians trying to reach aid distribution point in 2 days. Yep. Thousands clambered over the fences. Yeah, this is just food being utilized as a weapon of war to do collective punishment. Let's watch a little bit of this.
Al Jazeera podcasts.
Today, humanity.
One can only hope, but only time will tell. As you mentioned, we heard this early in May of last year when Hamas agreed a proposal put forward by Qatar and Egypt. We heard this again late in May of last year when then President Joe Biden announced that ceasefire proposal that.
Okay, let's close some of these tabs here. What do we got? Comments turned off. The man wasn't proudly displaying the aid. His box broke and he had to carry it in his t-shirt and was complaining about having to risk his life for beans and biscuits. Bro, what? Did they actually say he proudly displayed the aid? Yeah, that's weird framing.
Not even warning shots from Israeli troops nearby interrupt the crowd.
We want to eat. We are hungry. We've been humiliated with the communal kitchens and the lack of water and everything. Look what they put here for us.
Inside the boxes, rice, pasta, jam, beans and tuna. Carefully unpacked, proudly displayed.
Yo, why the fuck would you... Why would you unpack a box in the middle of the desert, bro? Holy shit, the BBC is actually trash. Doesn't sound very hungry. He can plant his bean crops. They always complain, bruh. Just so much racism. 3 things that changed how I view this whole system. 1, I stopped chasing... Okay, who cares? The BBC hid this for 2 years. You are complicit, BBC. It's absolutely disgusting how you have reported this atrocity. I mean, honestly. The BBC has just fucking sucked. They're like, they fire... I mean, holy shit. Even reporting on people shooting at Palestinians. The BBC's reporting at the IDF shooting at Palestinians just trying to get food. And they say, oh, they're firing warning shots. They don't say that 6 people fucking died because of those shots and that 47 other people were injured due to bullets. What the fuck? It's so gross. It's so gross, man. Look at this. Statement by UNICEF Regional Director for the Middle East and North Africa, Edward Begbedir, on the killing of at least 45 children in the Gaza Strip. This was from a few weeks, or this was like a week and a half ago. The reported killing of at least 45 children in the Gaza Strip in the last 2 days is yet another devastating reminder that children in Gaza are suffering first and foremost, having to starve day after day only to be victims of indiscriminate attacks. I mean, where did these 45 kids die? 45 children. $45 children in dead, killed in 2 days. This is from airstrikes. 950 children were killed in Israeli airstrikes across the Gaza Strip in just the past 2 months, and he stressed that the daily suffering and killing of children must end immediately. So, a week ago, you had 45 children bombed to death in 2 days in Gaza, and not a mention of it. Doesn't make it on the news. But then 2 people that support Israel were gunned down in DC, and basically that justifies the deaths of all of these children. So why am I covering this? Just there's a lot of fucking dark genocidal thoughts being propagated in our media system. You have this freaking monster, Randy Fine, advocating for the nuclear bombing of Gaza, saying that in World War II, we nuked Japan, and we have to do the same to Gaza. So he's advocating for the nuclear bombing of Gaza. Just complete racist piece of shit. He likes to flaunt his racism and to talk like it's a positive, like a positive attribute that he has. Look at this. We live in a scary world where the radical left, Muslim terrorists, and Nazis encourage political violence. Dude, you stand for everything that the Nazis, your voter base is the Nazis. That's why I want to give a huge shout out to Flagler, and the entire Flagler sheriff team for keeping me safe yesterday. Oh my God, did they gangbang you, dude? They're keeping you safe. Fucking little bitch. Where's this? Just 7 weeks in Congress and I've already pissed off Hamas and Islamic Jihad. I must be off to a good start. Hamas Islamic Jihad denounced U.S. Congressman's racist remarks on Gaza. Yeah, dude, they're calling you racist. That's not a good thing. Like, come on. Like, you can say, if they're like, oh, you like Jews too much, then you can be like, wow, I'm just too loving. I've pissed off these extremist organizations. But no, they're calling you a racist piece of shit. That's not a good thing. Muslim terror has come to our nation's capital. Muslim terror. Wait, wasn't his name Elias Rodriguez? Was he even Muslim? Elias Rodriguez. Or Elias Rodriguez. Who is Elias Rodriguez? The American Jewish Committee. This is gonna be good. What to know about the anti-Semitism that... Okay. Like, you want to say it's anti-Semitism that fueled the DC shooting, but... Like... Other than him shouting Free Palestine, you really have no motive at all. So, once again, this is like an Islamophobic thing. The guy says Free Palestine, and they're like, oh, he must be anti-Semitic. That is obviously the conflation of support for Israel and anti-Semitism. So, we know what happened. Who is the shooter? He worked as a researcher. He worked for the American Osteopathic Information Association. Manifesto defending violent action against Israel was posted to X by an account under the name Elias Rodriguez. Okay, like, I don't think there's any evidence he was a Muslim. Just saying, Rodriguez isn't really a Muslim last name. Okay, when Free Palestine turns violent, he shouted, Free Palestine is seen in a video of his arrest. This underscores a dangerous and growing reality. The relentless demonization of Israel poses a tangible threat to Jews around the world. Well, here's something that you can do to fight against that. If Israel is a shitty country and it's killing people and people don't like it, stop saying that all Jews around the world are represented by that. Like, pretty easy solution right there. I mean, another easy solution is, if you insist on saying Israel represents all Jews around the world, then maybe you should try to make it so Israel isn't as disgusting as it is right now. That same phrase has been used to repeatedly vandalize Jewish institutions, synagogues, and Jewish ritual items. Jews posting holiday greetings on social media often garner anti-Israel harassment in the comments, including phrases like Free Palestine. How can you do anti-Israel harassment? The phrase can be used as a call for a Palestinian state through nonviolent means, but when it is weaponized to harass Jews or justify murder, it cannot be seen as benign political speech. So, I mean, once again, I think the thing that you can criticize in that murder is the act of killing those people, not the like, I love the idea that it's not a gun issue in this country, or like a mental health issue, or even an issue of conflating Judaism with a genocidal nation state, but it is, he shouted free Palestine, and that's the problem. Anyway, so let's see, Randy finds nuke. U.S. Congressman calls to nuke Gaza. Oh, I wrote nuke Israel.
The fact of the matter is the Palestinian cause is an evil one.
Yeah, and Congressman, there is a ceasefire deal on the table right now that the White House is hoping both Israel and Hamas will sign on to. Does this shooting change anything when it comes to the course of the war or the negotiations to end it?
Well, I think it speaks to the importance of the only end of the conflict is complete and total surrender by those who support Muslim terror. In World War II, we did not negotiate a surrender with the Nazis. We did not negotiate a surrender with the Japanese. We nuked the Japanese twice in order to get unconditional surrender. That needs to be the same here. There is something deeply, deeply wrong with this culture, and it needs to be defeated.
So we nuked the Japanese twice. That needs to be the case here. Calling for, so you have a sitting congressman calling to nuke Gaza. You have Benjamin Netanyahu saying free Palestine is today's Hail Hitler. I mean, holy shit. They're just getting more and more masked off and genocidal. U.S.-Israel scheme dispenses Gaza aid as the UN says 180,000 displaced in 10 days. The UN slams GHF plan as distraction amid global condemnation as death toll in enclave surpasses 54,000. So this is the official death toll, and yeah, it is just a distraction. And it looks like the plan is working, and they have displaced 180,000 people, according to Al Jazeera. So there's nothing good about this at all. Another video. This was the BBC, and just completely insane. Let's see if this article actually talks about the IDF shooting people. So, Jake Wood, Israel, they did a total blockade. They're actually not going to say that they shot people. The UN said the videos from Rafah were heartbreaking and that it had detailed a plan ready to get enough aid to the desperate population of 2.1 million. Israel had said an alternative. They're actually not going to say that they did any kind of shooting, huh? Tuesday afternoon, in one clip. This is it. So here you go. In one clip, some people are seen running and ducking as what appear to be gunshots ring out. Wow, I think there's just like a lot of flies in Gaza. Maybe they were just trying to avoid mosquitoes or something. It appears to be gunshots. You can hear them in the background, but who knows? Maybe they're just popping champagne bottles. Witnesses describe a scene of chaos as people seized food parcels and other aid. They also said Israeli troops stationed nearby had opened fire. Oh, there you go. The situation was extremely difficult. They only allowed 50 people to cross at a time, one man told BBC Arabic's Middle East daily radio program. In the end, chaos broke out. People climbed over the gates, attacked others, and took all the aid. It was a humiliating experience, he added. A woman said people are exhausted, willing to do anything, even risk their lives, just to find food and feed their children. The IDF said its troops had fired warning shots in the area outside the compound. So you can get a statement from the IDF, but you can't actually get like a death toll or the amount of people that were shot and update this article with it. Okay. So obviously bad. So we can watch a little bit of this. I did want to watch something like this. I wanted to cover some of these things. I wanted to, like, since we're looking at Norman Finkelstein a little bit, and wanted to get his reaction to the Israeli embassy shooting.
Let's start with what is
Hey, how's it going, Meowts?
U.S. The shooting event confirmed that. There's so much going on in Gaza, atrocities day by day. I feel a little, it feels a little inhuman to talk about 2 deaths in Washington when there's hundreds, thousands of deaths going on in Gaza. But what is your reaction?
Well, my first reaction is that before a public, you have a responsibility not to just throw the ball. You have to have the facts and then make a careful evaluation on the basis of the facts. When I first read about this morning, my initial reaction, I thought it had occurred at the Israeli consulate. And I assumed it was a Palestinian who had committed the action. And my first reaction was to remember, I don't know if you folks will know, the fellow Herschel Grinspan. He was the one who assassinated the second-level diplomat in the German legation, I think it was in Paris. And he was Jewish, Herschel Grinspan, and that triggered Kristallnacht. And if you look at the literature on Grinspan, there's a lot of speculation about him. He was an obscure figure. He had reacted to reports about the forced movement of Jews. I think it was either in Germany or Poland. I think it was Poland. I can't remember. In any case, he reacted in sheer horror at what was being done to the Jews. I think it was his parents among them. And he did an act. He went into the German legation in Paris and he shot the second person in charge. Of course, the Germans called it an act of terrorism, and that's what triggered Kristallnacht. In those circumstances, given that he did assassinate a representative of the German government, and as a representative of the German government, he bears responsibility for the actions of the German government. I'm not aware of anybody who condemned Grinspan. And I've read the literature quite closely. I'm not aware of anybody who condemned him for the act, even though you could say it was not a very smart thing to do because it triggered Kristallnacht.
When you say aware of anyone who condemned him, who are you referring to?
Historians. I mean, that was
Right, yeah.
it triggered Kristallnacht. So obviously, there's a lot of talk about that incident, or a lot written on that incident. So that was my initial reaction, but then that turned out to be wrong because of 2 things. It didn't occur in the Israeli consulate. It occurred apparently in front of a Jewish museum in Washington. And secondly, it's unclear at this point whether the alleged perpetrator or whether he was even aware that these 2 people worked in the Israeli consulate, or they just happened to be in front of that museum. So that throws a large number of variables into the equation. I did read the alleged manifesto he wrote. Everything alleged.
Oh my God, get him banned. He read the manifesto. Norman Finkelstein shouldn't be existed. He shouldn't exist on the internet.
Because we really don't know. And I have to say, it was at quite a high level of sophistication. He talked about an incident in Guatemala with a Guatemalan doctor who was operating on some patients. And then the Guatemalan, what were they called back then? They weren't called terrorists, paramilitaries. They came into the hospital and they killed the patient. And the doctor commented about how he sees the murderers walking in the streets all the time with that heartless grin. And then he talked about an incident with a figure who was very famous in my generation, the Secretary of Defense, Robert McNamara. The Vietnam War was famously called McNamara's War. And somebody who sought revenge on him. And I know the Vietnam War like the back of my hand, and I wasn't even aware of this incident. So I'm bringing it all up because there seems to be this big disconnect between a sophisticated manifesto and a fellow just going randomly in front of a Jewish museum in Washington and attempting to assassinate 2 people who presumably he thought were Jewish, although there's no reason even to presume they were Jewish. It could have been just visitors going to the museum.
And
so
one
everything
wasn't
remains
Jewish.
foggy now. I would say for me, a bottom line is it could have been a nutty guy. That's always possible. Ted Kaczynski, he was a Harvard graduate. The manifesto he wrote wasn't altogether crazy, but he embarked on the crazy project.
I know, the FBI should visit Norman Finkelstein.
One by one assassinating
Or Steen.
individuals who he believed were responsible for bringing us to the point of destruction. So it could be a smart guy with a crazy project. It could be a crazy guy with a crazy project. I don't really know, but I would leave it there.
You know, it's interesting. I just have to add that one of the victims of the shooting, they were both employees of the Israeli embassy, and one of them is a Christian Zionist who emigrated to Israel from Germany and joined the IDF and became.
I don't know why people say that it was like a random shooting. The guy wasn't just he didn't just run into the actual Jewish museum and start shooting it up there. It seemed like he was waiting for people. So, I mean, obviously there's an investigation happening, but a lot of claims are being made about this with no evidence. Claims of anti-Semitism, claims of Muslim terror when there's no evidence that the guy is Muslim, at least any of these articles that I've read, but people are just willing to say that it is Muslim terror because it fits their agenda. So yeah, whenever you see people making like claims about this, when confident, clear claims about it, you can kind of just assume that they're lying about it because they're trying to use it as a piece of propaganda to attack people that are criticizing Israel. Okay, so let's do this. It's time for me to listen. So last time I streamed, I'm like, I was going for a while and I wanted to take a break, but we are going to cover the Ahmed Fouad al-Khatib section here, and I think we should just get it started. So let's do this now.
Okay, there are probably 1,000 people in the chat currently documenting every single thing that you guys are saying in an effort to basically tie it back to me. And
notice it's not don't do this because it's
not
wrong.
because it's wrong.
It's don't do it so that we don't look bad.
So we don't
look like we are. You don't see who we actually are.
Yeah.
Which is, by the way, the Discord's not public facing, although I think anyone can join it. But there's a reason they erased that. They just nuked the whole fucking thing.
This community and rob it of its context or anything like that.
Oh yeah, the context, sure.
And to try to get me fucking deplatformed. Like lock in. Stop fed posting.
Stop
it's not time for
fed
memes.
posting.
Just because you're anonymous doesn't mean you will stay anonymous. All this stuff. Okay.
Hold the terrorist sympathies until after the show is over. Thank you.
We got a lot of eyes on us, so.
Literally mob shit. Hey guys, keep it. Don't spend the money for a couple years.
Yeah.
They're gonna track the cash.
I didn't even know what Fed posting until I saw this stuff, and then people explained that, it's like.
I do like the idea that they're criticizing Hassan for saying, don't Fed post. Like, give us what Hassan said that's so bad. He says free Palestine. I mean, according to Ethan, that's an anti-Semitic phrase now. So I'm not going to really give it too much weight when Ethan and Hila cry about Hassan being anti-Semitic when literally advocating for Palestine is anti-Semitic in their eyes. Yeah, can you give us another mob impression, Ethan? That was so
Our
good.
guest is here. I have more clips to show. Is he? I can just talk.
Wait, hold on. I need to find something. Because Ethan Clyde said I would never tokenize a Muslim, and it was so funny. But yeah, I don't know. I can't find that clip right now. I think Bad Empanada played it in one of his videos, but it was just so funny when Ethan's like, I would never tokenize a Muslim, and Hassan tokenizes Jews all the time. Literally tokenizes Mudahar, tokenizes this guy, did another just like fucking insane, I think he was Palestinian, another insane Palestinian that's like, or no, I don't think he was Palestinian actually, but he was a Muslim and he was advocating for like, he's blaming Hamas for the genocide happening. So real quick, let's look up who this guy is. Ahmed Fouad al-Khatib. His Twitter. People always post crazy on Maine on here. They crazy post on Maine. Galia? Yeah, tokenizes her too. Proud American, Gaza native, pro-Palestine, pro-peace, anti-Hamas, and occupation. Realign for Palestine, senior fellow Atlanta Council. Own views? Okay, so this is what I wanted to look at. What being pro-Palestine means to me / my platform. I'm passionately, unequivocally, and without hesitation, a proponent of the Palestinian people's just and urgent aspirations for self-determination, liberation, sovereignty, and safety. So, once again, like, this is very wordy. This is almost a word salad. It's just like, you're a proponent of their urgent aspirations for these things. Are you a proponent for their things? Like, I would like you to be a little bit more succinct so that you're stronger in your statements. I grew up in Gaza, where I experienced Israeli violence and bombardment, including one incident that almost killed me and caused me permanent hearing impairment. My family is still in Gaza and has suffered dozens of deaths during this latest war. Right off the bat, it's not a war, it's a genocide. Like, it's literally ethnic cleansing. In what war does one side prohibit journalists from entering the territory of another side? My grandparents were expelled from their ancestral homes in 1948 and fled to the Gaza Strip, and my parents were raised in a refugee camp in Rafah during the 1950s. This background informs and influences me and speaks to why I care about the Palestinian issue and consider myself pro-Palestine. Whoa, shit. I am motivated by a sincere desire to see my people obtain their legitimate and undeniable rights, which they have not had for decades. Yet I and many others, I love that there's a yet here. Yet I and many others, especially those who are silent or are forced to be quiet, struggle with finding a political home in today's pro-Palestine movement. So spare me your tears, spare me your crocodile tears. When you say that, when you're going to be speaking about people that are silent or are forced to be quiet, and you're not mentioning the pro-Palestinian voices that have literally been deported from this country for speaking up about Palestine and trying to like shine a light on the injustices that this country is carrying out in that region, then you're a complete charlatan. If you're going to say that, well, I'm like a both sides guy, and then I feel really persecuted against me, and I find it hard to have a home in the pro-Palestinian movement, then you can go fuck yourself. You're a charlatan running defense for Israel. That's what you're doing. What the hell is this? Is like, yes, I am motivated by a sincere desire to see my people obtain their legitimate and undeniable rights. Yet, I feel like I don't have a place. Like, there's one, two. Okay, so there's. I'm gonna have to use my other computer microphone. This one unplugged, and then it's just not working ever since then. No. Yeah, it's cutting in and out. Here, quick, let me throw in a video while I try to figure this out. I'm not going to subject you guys to this. I'll just play a little bit of this. I'll rewind this a little bit. Where was the part when Gila was talking about Noah Sampson's fashion choices? That was hilarious.
Like the blatant, violent anti-Semitism that is oozing off these people. If you can't see it, then we're basically just going, I mean, where are we going?
Okay, I think it's working now.
It was during the war and the Holocaust. It's reminiscent.
Oh yeah, this fucking part was hilarious. These morons, the blatant, violent anti-Semitism of Hassan saying free Palestine, and then Zach chimes in. It's just like it was during the war, like he's some kind of old grizzled war veteran that has experienced like the decay of society and the rebuilding of it, just like in the war. I can't get it out of my head.
Where are we going?
It feels like where it was during the war and the Holocaust. It's reminiscent of that time.
It's crazy to see. You can see how it happened. I've always said, like, I have no idea how the Holocaust
How is it reminiscent at all, bro?
I see how it happened.
Other than the fucking concentration camps.
Although there isn't.
I mean, the treatment, I love, like, he's saying the treatment of myself is like how Jews were treated in Nazi Germany. Absolutely insane thing to say.
Insane, a rising hate crime against Jews in America and around the world. It's the It's the consent. It's the ease. It's the comfortability that people have with violence against us.
Dehumanizing
violence against us,
mainstream,
and seeing
being
it
platformed by New York Times,
exactly.
by the CEO of Twitch saying this is his favorite creator.
Yeah, seeing it on all levels.
The people are comfortable.
I think my microphone should be good now.
More comfortable. Guess what's going to happen? Watch this. By the way, Hassan just erased his entire Discord.
Yeah, I saw people say that that's something they do kind of regularly.
He's done it a few times, but now it's a pretty funny time.
Why?
He let's see. He tells his chat.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, he tells his chat, by the way, who when he's reading the shooter's manifesto, he put his chat in emoji only mode. And even then, by the way, they were able to express support for the shooter. And by the way, Hassan managed to do more to support this shooter's dignity.
How were they able to express? Oh my God, Ethan. Ethan was recycling this line from his Instagram post. So he's like, Hassan did more to protect this shooter than he did to protect me. First of all, putting the chat in emoji mode isn't protecting the shooter, right? Hassan literally said it so that people don't like clip his chat out of context or clip him out of context. That's why he put his chat in emoji mode. So you're a fucking moron. Secondly, even if it was to protect the shooter, he put his chat in emoji mode with you too, you dumb motherfucker. So why are you drawing this comparison when it falls flat on its face? You even admit that Hassan put his chat in emoji mode when he was talking with you.
Than me.
Mm-hmm.
It was only after I confronted him that he put it in chat emoji mode.
Chatter, are you crazy? Chatter goes, yo, use this as your blast off meme. No, I'm not going to do that, okay? Missed therapy appointment, so now I have to pay extra, and we're here. What is this? You about to be arrested?
I love how in Ethan's mind he's like, oh, when I asked Hassan to put his chat in emoji mode, did he put his chat in emoji mode? That's evidence that he's not protecting me in our conversation. It's like Hassan didn't know you were a fucking freaky Zionist that thought saying from the river to the sea was an anti-Semitic phrase. He didn't understand that was your position when you first started having a conversation, and so he didn't realize that his chat would be so against you. But then as soon as you're like, wow, your chat's being mean to me, Hassan's like, all right, I'll put it in emoji mode. So as soon as you said you were uncomfortable, he did something to make you less uncomfortable, and that's apparently evidence that Hassan's an evil person.
What? Having a fucking fat cock? Don't think that's illegal. True. All right. Osama bin Laden blast off. Can you get through the news before 3 p.m. when I see the new Mission Impossible streamer, man? No. Should I use Tyrese Halliban? Should I do that? I don't. No, dude, I can't. Yeah, I'm not gonna use this, dude. Y'all are so stupid.
Like, what are we supposed to be watching here?
Not like, this is not a time to be fucking. It's not a time for you to say fun, wild, edgy things. Okay, there are probably 1,000 people in the chat currently documenting every single thing that you guys are saying in an effort to basically tie it back to me. And
notice it's not, don't do this because it's
not because we already watched this part. Let's fast forward a little bit.
Yeah, I can just talk to him and then we'll finish when we're done with him. But yeah, I have a really interesting guest. Let's bring him on. His name is once again Ahmed Fuad Al Khatib, and I'll have him tell you about his background. Mm-hmm. But he's a peace activist, a Palestinian peace activist. Someone who I've been following for a while with great admiration, because he, kind of like me, all this guy does. There he is. I'll let him speak for himself. Hello, Ahmed. How are you? Thanks for calling.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
For a while with great admiration, because he, kind of like me, all this guy does. There he is. I'll let him.
Okay. So right off the bat, I need to pause this because it's pretty funny. It's Ethan's like, because he's a peace activist. First of all, he's not a peace activist. His organization is trying to build an airport. If anything, that's like an advocate for more infrastructure within Palestine. That's not really an advocate for peace. The other thing is, so Ethan's like, because he, kind of like me, all this guy does, and then he cuts off, and then he cuts himself off. So what is he going to say? What was he going to say there? I think he was going to say, because he, kind of like me, all this guy does is get harassed online all day by people that claim to be pro-Palestine, but then, like, I don't know, purity test. So it's just all aggrievement politics for this guy. He just finds people that get criticized for being too pro-genocide, and then he's like, oh, you get criticized for being pro-genocide? I do too. Let's just like have a cry sesh together on my show. Like, it's only a matter of time before he brings Destiny on his show, and then he can cry about it with him too. He's already talked with Mudahar. He has already talked with Lonerbox. He's like triangulating Destiny. That's his next target.
Hello, Ahmed. How are you? Thanks for calling.
Yes, of course. Thanks for having me on.
Hello.
I'm very grateful for the perspective that you've brought to this from the very beginning, because I think I'm like you. I'm someone who's in favor of peace, who's in favor of Palestinian liberation, who hates Hamas,
he's not.
right? But also doesn't think that
Ethan's just not in favor of peace nor Palestinian liberation. Maybe peace, but not Palestinian liberation. He's definitively not in favor of that.
It's a good idea to erase it. You know, the genocidal language that they deploy, that the co-signing the violence that you're seeing now, and it's like,
what?
Hates Hamas, right?
Let me slow this down a little bit. So he hates Hamas, okay,
but also doesn't think that like it's a good idea to erase it. You know, the genocidal language that they deploy, that the co-signing the violence that you're seeing now, and it's like,
what the fuck is he talking about? His brain's scrambled. He doesn't know what he's saying. He doesn't know if it's a genocide. He doesn't know whether Hamas is to blame for it. He doesn't know if the IDF is to blame for it. He doesn't know whether to call it ethnic cleansing or if it's a war. Like, he's just completely scrambled on this. All he knows is that he hates Hassan and he loves Israel. And so he's trying to, like, he doesn't actually have a position that he can verbalize. He can't actually like speak about a coherent position that he has because he doesn't have one. His only position is people criticizing me are bad and I'm going to fight against that. That's his only position.
Isn't black and white just gets absolutely, you know, annihilated in the court of public opinion these days.
What the fuck is this moron babbling on about? He's actually incoherent. What the hell?
It's a good idea to erase it. You know, the genocidal language that they deploy, that the co-sign.
So he's like, I hate Hamas, but I also think it's not a good idea to completely erase. So he's like trying to be like, I hate Hamas, but I also don't think it's a good idea to support the genocidal language coming out of Israel. Oh, fuck. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. I forgot. We were reading this guy's bio. I don't know how. Oh, yeah, it's because my audio went out. I wanted to finish reading this guy's bio because this is going to inform us about him. Okay, so yeah, let's read this a little bit more. Yet I and many others, especially those who are silent or are forced to be quiet, struggle with finding a political home in today's pro-Palestine movement. Increasingly, it feels as if pro-Palestine activism is dominated by maximalists. Dominated by maximalists? What? I think it's dominated by people calling for the genocide to end. When did he write this post? Okay, so this post is pinned. When was it written? Like a little bit under a year ago, while the genocide was well underway. Okay. One to all of historic Palestine and other zero-sum positions and approaches. Zero-sum? Saying that land back and the right to return, that's a zero-sum solution? What the fuck are you talking about, bro? Slogan-driven voices and narratives. There is a lack of pragmatic and humanistic ability to hold multiple truths at once. Okay, Bad Empanada actually called this out. There's a lack of ability to hold multiple truths at once. So yeah, we need to like have double think in our brains. What are the multiple truths? The multiple truths are that Palestinians shouldn't be killed, but also Israel should be an ethno-state. You're right, that is a contradictory position. And those are multiple, I want to say those are multiple truths. Those are multiple desires that are inherently contradictory. And so if you, like, I think that's what this guy believes in, and he just hasn't followed that logic to its conclusion. So we lack a pragmatic and guys, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you watch me, and I'm lacking in a pragmatic and humanistic ability to hold multiple truths at the same time. I'm so sorry that I can't hold two inherently self-contradictory truths. And to advocate nuanced and color-rich positions and views that are not Bro, this man cannot shut the fuck up. He has diarrhea of the mouth. Nuanced and color-rich positions and views that are not black and white. Color-rich positions that are not black and white. I honestly hate people like this. I hate people that just jerk off to the sound of their own voice. Does this man have a podcast? Oh, I have color-rich positions that are not black and white. It's a spectrum. It's not a binary. It's so fucking stupid. Color-rich positions and understandings of the Israel and Palestine conflict. Like, once again, you can have a nuanced view of Israel and Palestine in the sense that you understand a lot of details, but there is no nuanced solution. There's no nuanced prescriptive policy that you can give to this when there's a genocide happening, right? There's not like, oh, well, maybe like 80% of the Palestinians should be ethnically cleansed, but Israel should give like a special status for Palestinians that were supportive of Israel and volunteered information and snitched on Hamas members, and their families can stay in Palestine. They can be like the new minority members. There is no nuanced position on this. So the idea that there is Zionist propaganda. Here's what, to me, an effective and meaningful pro-Palestinian platform entails. What, are you running for office now? Supporting the right of Palestinians to a sovereign and independent state living in peace side by side with Israel. Already fucking bullshit. There is no living side by side in peace with Israel. That's just completely ridiculous right off the bat. Condemning Israeli government actions, policies, priorities, and decisions that kill, harm, and undermine or oppress the Palestinian people. Okay, fair enough. Like, nuanced to oblivion, but not objectionable on its face. Criticizing and decrying the conduct of the war in Gaza. I mean, the war in Gaza, like, do I need to read more? The military occupation in the West Bank and the Israeli government's disregard for Palestinian civilian lives. I mean, fair enough, they do disregard Palestinian civilian lives. I'm glad that he's not trying to say that they do everything in their power to minimize civilian harm. I'm glad that he's actually able to identify that they do disregard Palestinian lives. Kind of hard not to when your entire family's been killed by Israel. Rejecting, denouncing, and exposing the theft of Palestinian lands in the West Bank and the sprawling settlement enterprise and settler violence. I mean, true, that's a good thing. Supporting highly targeted, specific, and effective sanctions against individuals, groups, and entities that are enabling the unjust and illegal occupation. I mean, at this point, I don't even think it should be highly targeted. Like, just do as impactful of sanctions as you can. Denouncing and combating the dehumanization of the Palestinian people or the denial of their existence as people with the right to live on the land they call home for generations. So I would love for him to be critical of Ethan Klein here and actually call out the fact that Ethan has said the dissolution of Israeli borders is the genocide of Jewish people. Call out Ethan Klein for never actually platforming the deaths and the destruction that the Palestinian people have endured during this like 18-month-long genocide. Maybe he can actually bring up some of the plight of the Palestinians that they're currently experiencing on his interview on the H3 podcast. Okay, this is a lot of bullshit. This is bold. Let's read the bold stuff. Understanding past and contemporary mistakes that have set the Palestinian people back by decades and made them pawns in ideologies and geopolitical programs, agendas, and designs. I mean, this is for pro-Palestinian platform. I just think you need to say stop killing people. Developing a pragmatic and realistic framework for recognizing Israel's existence, right to exist. Yeah, he's an advocate for the right of Israel to exist, and that's why they're on this show. Promoting a cultural shift away from revolutionary rhetoric, martyrdom, and armed resistance. Fucking insane. It's not culture. If you want to call that Palestinian culture, which is an abysmal thought, it's because of the material conditions that Israel has enforced upon them. When you are getting violently oppressed, what are people supposed to celebrate? Of course they're going to celebrate revolutionary rhetoric, martyrdom, and armed resistance. And the idea that you're blaming Palestinians for, like, oh, it's a violent country because of the Palestinian culture. That's the definition of racism. Dispensing with delusional and destructive elements of the Palestinian narrative and acknowledging that there will not be a full liberation of all of Palestine. I mean, yeah, this guy's just like, okay, well, you know, Palestinians, they should temper their expectations. Just a Zionist shell. Okay, let's play a little bit of this, a bit more.
The violence that you're seeing now, and it's like anyone who's isn't black and white just gets absolutely, you know, annihilated in the court of public opinion these days. Has that been your experience?
Okay, so I did correctly call out what Ethan was going to say. He's like, you spend all the time getting like lambasted for having a nuanced perspective on this.
Absolutely, man. As someone from Gaza, someone who's lost family members, someone who has actual war injuries from having grown up in the Gaza Strip, the fact that I'm able to, and people talk.
Bro, you don't have war injuries. You have injuries from living in a concentration camp, constantly being bombed and shot at by Israel. That's the injuries you have. Did you sign up to fight a war? Did you enlist in a military? Tell me how you have war injuries, bro.
Talk about nuance, but no one actually walks the talk. No one actually understands what nuance means. No one wants to hold multiple truths. No one wants to talk about the fact that you can be pro the Palestinian people's just and urgent aspirations, while also rejecting an Islamist death cult.
Also rejecting an Islamist death cult. If you're talking about Hamas, they're resisting against Israel. Okay, so if you want to call that a death cult, then I guess just being Palestinian in Palestine is a death cult.
That has been a complete disaster for the Palestinian people, far more than it has been a deadly menace for the Israelis. Yes, of course, it has been for Israelis in the 19...
Blaming Hamas for Israel's actions in Gaza, that's what he's doing right now. Hamas has been a disaster for the Palestinian people, rather than being a threat to Israel. Okay. I mean, I love how in that statement that he made, there's a premise that being a threat to Israel would somehow help the Palestinian people. Why would it help the Palestinian people if Israel's threatened by Palestine? Maybe it would get Israel to stop bombing and controlling every aspect of Palestine. So in this statement that he's trying to say that Hamas is to blame for all of the death and destruction within Palestine, like he can't avoid the premise that Israel has been doing all of that death and destruction.
1990s during the Oslo process, in the 2000s with the Second Intifada, certainly with the rockets when they took over, and then October 7th. But I would argue that Hamas has been a far more menacing threat to the very existence and welfare of the Palestinian people, and trying to hold...
Has been a far more menacing threat than what?
Israelis. Yes, of course, right. It has been an Islamist death cult that has been a complete disaster for the Palestinian people, far more than it has been a deadly menace for the Israelis. Yes, of course, right. It has been for Israelis in the 1990s during the Oslo process, in the 2000s with the Second Intifada, certainly with the rockets when they took over, and then October 7th. But I would argue that Hamas has been a far more menacing threat to the very existence and welfare of the Palestinian people, and trying to...
So what is this argument? He's saying that Hamas has been more devastating to the Palestinian people than they have been to the Israelis? Yeah, okay. Care to substantiate this argument at all? Are you going to explain why? Are you going to say that it's the Israelis doing it all, right? So he's just immediately comes out and he starts doing victim blaming. I mean, imagine this in the context of a sexual assault that took place. Oh, I see you're wearing a short dress that shows a lot of skin. But do you realize that short dress has harmed you way more than it actually has helped you? I mean, sure, you had a boyfriend that treated you well and he saw you dressed in skimpy clothing and that might have been why he started dating you. But, I mean, you've experienced a lot of harm as a result of that dress. Who was doing the harm? The dress wasn't doing the harm. I mean, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this talking point?
Those multiple truths immediately erases my heritage, my pride of my Palestinian background, I'm a spy, I'm a Zionist, I'm a traitor, I'm a sellout, I'm a bootlicker, I'm all of those things. And I've appreciated the fact that you, among other allies across both the Jewish community and non-Jewish community, have really been seeking to
Is Ethan part of a Jewish community?
bolster those of us who are trying our best to be pragmatic, be moderates, be reasonable, be about our people's rights without promoting terrorism, which is very sexy nowadays among some in the circles, which is despicable.
You know, one thing that after October 7th that really...
Without promoting terrorism? Bro, you're saying the Palestinians are getting their asses kicked because of Hamas. You're the one promoting terrorism. You're saying that everything the IDF is doing is justified. What the fuck? That they're doing terrorism. They're doing genocide. Terrorism was a part of that in Gaza. You're the one promoting terrorism. Bro, I'm losing my mind.
Shook me, was completely unexpected, was the outward support for Hamas, like immediately after. Because like I always had this understanding, like, oh, everybody knows they're evil and they're bad.
Give me the support for Hamas.
And they're terrorists, right? But then after October 7th, I had my co-host Hassan Piker. I came on here to be like, dude, isn't this crazy? And he's unable to say a bad thing about them. The audience is in full support. It seems
he's unable to say a bad thing about them. He said that the violence on October 7th was horrible, right? Where did he support the actions of Hamas? Oh my God, dude. Like, he just says one thing and then immediately contradicts himself. What, is he going to point to Sam Cedar being like Hamas has done good things and Hamas has done bad things, and then point to that as evidence of the online left supporting Hamas? I mean, dude, you defend the genocidal state of Israel at every chance you get, and you want to piss and shit yourself and clutch your pearls that the left is supporting Hamas? That the left, who's doing more harm?
to be in full support of Hamas, and I didn't even consider that a possibility. I was like a completely reality shattering for me when I saw that, and it's continued since then. It's really something,
Well, you just hit on basically why I decided to put myself forth. I worked for an international philanthropic organization and research organization focused on Africa before October 7th for the last 8 years. And I've maintained my contact with Gaza ever since I came here, and we can get into elements of my story later. But while I've been on and off involved with what you would call the mainstream pro-Palestine movement, I had stepped away. But I was shocked myself that in the past, at least, there was the pretense, and I'll be honest with you, like there was the pretense, a goodwill effort, or at least a recognition of saying, well, I'm not down with Hamas, but the blockade. Well, I'm not down with Hamas, but Israeli policies. Well,
but the blockade? When did Hamas do a blockade on Israel? What are you talking? Does he mean Ansar Allah, like the Houthis? Is that what he means?
No, I'm with the Palestinian people. I don't support Hamas and there were tiers of that, right? Mm-hmm. And then on October 7th, I would say something flipped, something really shifted. But I want to share though, before October 7th, going way back, there were
he's a yapper, isn't he?
Supporters for Hamas throughout the movement, but it was generally understood.
They had to keep it low key.
Precisely, keep it low key, and they were genuinely I believed the smaller elements. So, for example, in the first war, I was, I'm 35 right now.
Bro, I thought the point of this guy was to try to humanize Palestinians, and they've spent this entire time. They've spent 5 minutes of this conversation shitting on Hamas and blaming Hamas for the death and destruction that Palestinians are experiencing. Are you fucking kidding me? Israel's bombed 47 kids in 2 days. That wasn't Hamas. These guys are disgusting. They've did an 11-week complete starvation campaign on Gaza. That wasn't Hamas stealing the aid. These guys are actually so fucking gross. They're not listen, there's more time that they're having a conversation, but are you really going to spend this entire time? Is this the most pressing thing on your mind? The fact that some leftists like Sam Cedars like Hamas has done good things, Hamas has done bad things. The fact that Hassan's like Hamas does have just like a government side to it, which just tries to do like civic duties. Is that what you're really going to spend the entire time talking about? Is that the first thing on your mind that you guys need to just get off your chest?
I was 18 in 2008, 2009. I remember, and I was always, very good in like public talk.
Yeah, Maria, that's what I was wondering too. Like, when did Hamas ever do a blockade on Israel? I mean, he also was talking about this in the context of before October 7th. I'm with the Palestinian people, but the blockade, like, I don't know if this guy knows what he's talking about at all. But Hamas.
And I was always making a compelling case for why what's happening in Gaza is unjust, etc. I remember vividly.
Maria, find that clip for me, because did he say was that in the conversation with Hassan where he said he was going to cover the genocide more, and he hasn't looked back since? He hasn't talked about a single instance of Palestinian death at all, and then he actually brings a Palestinian on his show, and they just complain about how much lefties love Hamas. Like, it just defies, like, it's just like too far to even be called comedy. I love this that no one's even like, how far do we need to scroll until we find a comment talking about this? Love saying I have ADHD and no memory. Gabe is such a good man. Loves personality. Ethan wanting to cook eggs. I can't believe Ethan said this. Segment suggestion. I love that you guys still bring in Gabe on for Fridays. The iDubbbz reveal was quite humorous. As an Israeli who's lost... This is like a number 10 comment. I truly feel like Ahmed deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. As an Israeli who's lost loved ones in suicide and bus bombing attacks, he is a glimmer of hope in a sea of hate and uncompromising radicalism. So basically, if you're like, Hamas is to blame for this genocide, then you can get this channel to support you.
In San Francisco, a reporter asking me, well, what do you think about these rockets that Hamas is shooting? They're indiscriminate, they're terrible. And I remember answering the reporter, of course I'm against Hamas's rockets, and I'm against random acts of violence, and that's not what the Palestinian people want, because Gazans don't want Hamas, and even back then, they didn't want these...
Literally not even a random act of violence. They're firing rockets into an oppressive colonial state. That's what they're doing.
Unmasked dudes. They just show up next to your house, they put up this launching pad, silly launching pad, they shoot off the missile, and then Israeli aircraft come and just like destroy the whole area.
So you're gonna say that Hamas firing rockets into the oppressive colonial ethno-state is a random act of violence, but then you're going to justify the Israeli bombs that blow up the entire neighborhood? Did you just do that, bro? Oh my god. Okay, we have to run that back.
They just show up next to your house, violence, and that's not what the Palestinian people want, because Gazans don't want Hamas, and even back then, they didn't want these unmasked dudes. They just show up next to your house, they put up this launching pad, silly launching pad, they shoot off the missile, and then Israeli aircraft come and just like destroy the whole area.
Bro, once again, who's to blame here? It's like, oh, my neighborhood was blown up because of Hamas. Because of Hamas. It's like, Hamas just blew up the entire neighborhood, just completely by themselves. There was no other intervening force at all.
So that was like when I was growing up, man. But when I was growing up in Gaza, it wasn't the rockets. They used to have mortars in there, and people hated when Hamas or Islamic Jihad.
Yeah, it's gotta be terrifying when they set that up next to your house or wherever you live.
Exactly. So like it was a universally loathed thing, and people were like, so what? Like, what are you going to do? And then meanwhile, Israeli surveillance drones are overhead, the Apaches, the F-16s. So like, through my lived experience,
Okay, so we spend 5 full minutes talking about the silly rocket launching pads and the mortars that Hamas use, and how terrifying it is that Hamas will set up outside of your house and fire rockets and mortars into Israel. But then we're just gonna literally, like, he literally hand waved away the Apache rockets, the Israeli jets that bomb Gaza, and the surveillance drones that also probably have bombs on them that bombed Gaza. So yeah, let's dedicate 5 minutes talking about how scary Hamas is, but then like hand wave away the fucking surveillance bomb state that Israel has implemented to completely control every aspect of Gaza.
Where you live?
Exactly.
Dude, Ethan just looks so fucking like he's almost salivating getting this kind of shit. He just can't fucking help it. Like I hope he doesn't stand up in this clip, because he might be pitching a tent in his pants listening to a Muslim person talking about how the Muslims in Gaza are actually they're actually the fault of this entire genocide happening.
Terrifying when they set that up next to your post up next to your house or wherever you live.
Exactly. So like it was a universally loathed thing, and people were like, so what? Like, what are you going to do? And then meanwhile, Israeli surveillance drones are overhead, the Apaches, the F-16s. So like, through my lived experience, through my
he just cuts himself off,
through the understanding that since Hamas took over in 2007, they accelerated the use of civilian areas for this action. So I was able, even as an 18-year-old, to say, well, yeah, of course I'm against these rockets. And the way
they accelerated the use of civilian areas for firing rockets. I mean, bro, Israel kills civilians, whether they're trying to get food, whether they're trying to walk somewhere. Who gives a fuck? It's just a pretense, and you're doing propaganda for it. You're being like, oh yeah, well, of course Israel's killing more civilians because Hamas has accelerated the firing of rockets out of civilian areas. Where is it not a civilian area in Gaza? Show me the military sites where Hamas sets up rockets and shoots from that. Show me that, dude. Oh my God.
Israel's conducting this,
right?
That.
Oh, Israel just responds. Oh, it's just, bro. Ethan's such a fucking loser. Rocket fire between Palestine and Israel. Palestinian rocket attacks on Israel. Hamas fires first rockets. Okay. Palestinian rockets killed many in Israel. Man, no, I saw a good graphic on this. I'll just say deaths between Palestine and Israel. Data on casualties. Casualties in the context, they'll only be added to the page once these incidents have been independently verified. Palestinians, so this is by year. Look at 2015. 2,327 Palestinian fatalities. Look at Israel in 2015, 88. It's like 40 times more. '21 or 20. Look at this. Fatalities by region. Oh, this is really slow. 3 in 2020. And look at Palestine. 2020, 30, 10 times more. 2018, 300. 2018, 13. Almost 30 times more. I mean, like, do we need to go on? Do we need to go on? We're saying that Israel is just responding. Israel is the one responding to the Hamas attacks. When consistently about like 30 times more Palestinians are killed every single year than Israeli civilians are killed. 2010, 8 people were killed. 2010, 87 people were killed, 10 times more. 2009, 16 people were killed. 2009, 1,059 Palestinians were killed. Like, are we actually going to be sitting here and really say that Israel's just responding to the Palestinian rockets? Fucking disgusting. Disgusting scumbags. Like, maybe we can find the amount of rocket attacks. Rocket attacks out of Israel by a year. Palestinian rocket attacks on Israel. Rocket and mortar attacks against Israel. I mean, rocket attacks on Israel, rocket attacks fired at Israel, Middle East crisis, a war in numbers. 19,000 rockets at Israel. Israel's attacks on Gaza since 2005. So this is a list of the attacks that Israel has done on Gaza. So August 2005, Israeli forces withdraw from Gaza. January 2006, Hamas wins an election. Then June 2006, Hamas captures Israeli army conscript Gilad Shalit in cross-border raid from Gaza, prompting Israeli air raids and incursions. December 2008, Israel launches a 22-day military offensive in Gaza after rockets were fired at the southern Israel town of Sderot. About 14,000 Palestinians and 13 Israelis killed before a ceasefire was agreed upon. Israel kills Hamas's military chief of staff in November 2012, followed by eight days of Israeli air raids on Palestine. The kidnapping and killing of 3 Israeli teenagers by Hamas leads to a 7-week war in which more than 2,100 Palestinians are killed in Gaza, along with 73 Israelis, including 67 soldiers. Palestinian protests begin in Gaza's fenced border with Israel, and Israeli troops open fire to keep them back. More than 170 Palestinians killed in several months of protest, prompting fighting between Hamas and Israeli air forces. After weeks of tension during the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, hundreds of Palestinians are injured by Israeli security forces at the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in Jerusalem. More than 30 Palestinians, including women and children, killed in new air attacks carried out by Israeli planes. Palestinian Islamic Jihad, whose 2 commanders were killed in the airstrikes, fires dozens of rockets into Israel in response. Yeah, but Israel's just responding every time. Israel's just responding to this shit.
These rockets, and
yeah, and that's the other thing. It's like there is no valid response which consists of killing civilians. That's terrorism. That's just terrorism in a way that is condoned by the United States and is on a much larger scale than anything that Palestine does.
The way Israel's when Hamas or Islamic Jihad.
Yeah, it's gotta be terrifying when they set that up next to your house or wherever you live.
Exactly. So like it was a universally loathed thing, and people were like, so what? Like, what are you going to do? And then meanwhile, Israeli surveillance drones are overhead, the Apaches, the F-16.
Let me not talk about that.
Through my lived experience, through my contact with people in Gaza,
He's like, oh shit, I got a little bit too close to the sun there. I almost criticized Israel by mentioning their surveillance state and then their apparatus of bombing Gaza. Let me back away from there. I can't actually criticize Israel. That would ruin this whole grift. But anyway, he pulled a Joe Biden.
But anyway, in 2007, they accelerated the use of civilian areas for this action. So I was able, even as an 18-year-old, to say, well, yeah, of course I'm against these rockets. And the way Israel's conducting this,
right.
That, and yada, yada. Like,
yeah. Wait, hold on. Oh my God, it's just too good. It's just too fucking good. Yada, yada.
So Watley says to me, hey, I can make Catholic jokes. I used to be Catholic.
Now, see, I don't think it is a Catholic joke. I think it's more of a Raquel Welch joke. What was it? No, I said... thought you guys might want to have lunch. Give me a call. Bye.
They're not getting a baby, so you're taking them to lunch.
I thought it would be nice.
Poor Beth.
Hey, Arnie's just as upset.
Oh, screw him.
Listen to this.
Come on.
Marcy comes over and she tells me that her ex-boyfriend was over late last night and yada, yada, yada. I'm really tired today.
Yada, yada, yada. I'm really tired today.
I don't think she'd yada, yada sex.
I've yada-yada'd sex.
Really?
Yeah. I met this lawyer. We went out to dinner. I had the lobster bisque. We went back to my place. Yada, yada, yada. I never heard from him again.
But you yada-yada'd over the best part.
No, I mentioned the bisque.
Wait, you can't yada yada genocide, can you? No. I've yada yada'd genocide. Here we go. Ahmed Fuad al-Khatib yada yadaing Israel bombing Gaza. Okay, let's go.
The use of civilian areas for this action. So I was able, even as an 18-year-old, to say, well, yeah, of course I'm against these rockets. And the way Israel's conducting this,
right.
that, and yada, yada, like
Yeah.
I was immediately put to this.
Bro, it's so fucking comical. He can't speak anything negatively about Israel. He's like, yeah, I was against the rockets and also the way that he literally starts dancing. Like, I've heard of dancing around a subject. I've never actually seen someone physically dance when they're dancing around trying to not criticize something. He's literally like, yeah, I was against the rockets and also the way that Israel, Ethan says responds. And he's like, yeah, responds. Let's say that. Yada, 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 the way Israel, yada, yada. But, let's talk about how bad Hamas is now. Holy shit. What a fucking loser,
I'll
dude.
never forget this. By one of the organizers of someone.
Okay, we need to go. We need to do this one more time.
Against these rockets. And the way Israel's conducting this,
right.
that, and yada, yada, I was immediately pulled to the side. I'll never forget this. By one of the...
He groans like it's so profound. Yes, you were against rocket attacks and also the yada yada that you were experiencing from Israel. Holy shit, that has to be a new meme. Israel's just yada yadaing, and at the end of the day, there's no Palestinians left.
Organizers of someone who was at the time working through the Answer Coalition. The Answer Coalition has been around forever. And they were like, Ahmed, that was terrible. Don't ever do that again. You always pivot away from talking about Hamas and the rockets. You always make it about Israel. I was like, okay, wait, but I did talk about Israel, but I legitimately expressed the sentiment that I know people in Gaza.
Looks like he learned that lesson and has just applied it to the opposite side now, because he's spent the better part of this interview pivoting away from any action that Israel has done that's negative.
Gaza, I'm gonna talk to my friends. No, it doesn't matter. You always stay on point. Keep the focus on Israel. Hamas is irrelevant.
Yeah, I wonder why he would say keep the focus on Israel and that Hamas is irrelevant. Maybe because it's fucking true. When we're talking about the self-determination of the Palestinian people, you could have it Hamas, you could have it be reverse Sama, have it be anti-Hamas. It doesn't fucking matter. Israel's killing zones where they say there is no Hamas, and they're still killing the fucking people there. They're ethnically cleansing the West Bank. Hamas doesn't fucking matter. It is irrelevant. Holy shit. What, you should have listened to whatever, your uncle or grandpa or whatever, and actually taken his words of advice to heart, because he was right on.
In this whole, I was like, wait, but literally the conflict is happening because Hamas started all these things. Come on, guys. So that was the first crack for me.
Okay, I mean, there you go. That now we know why Ethan Klein brought him on. Now we know what his position on this shit is. The conflict is happening because Hamas started all of these things. I mean, I hope he's getting paid well. I really hope he's getting paid well, because if there is an afterlife, this man is going to be burning for eternity.
Me, I was like, really? We're going to engage in dishonesty just to be, but I didn't think much of it at the time.
Holy shit.
And I was like, okay, whatever, that's one person. And I continued to seek to do this pragmatic approach.
Dude, maybe you should have thought more of it, because it was... Dude, what the fuck? No, it was the truth. he's admitting that he was told the truth, and he's like, okay, but I didn't think much of it. I mean, there are multiple truths, right? I live in a multiple truth world where I do pragmatic multiple truth thoughts in my brain.
Approach of saying,
yeah,
look, Hamas is like bad, like Hamas is terrible, and I would get some funny looks, but for the most part, people didn't really give me a hard time.
Okay, so, I mean, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? You say, oh, I do talk about Israel. I don't only talk about Hamas, but you've only talked about Hamas here. You said Hamas is to blame for the war starting. Yeah, how much is this guy getting paid? What is this? Reallineforpalestine.org. Realign for Palestine. Join the movement. Engage with us. Take the courageous path with us toward peace. Out of the rubble and tragedy of Gaza, we believe... tragedy of Gaza? What the fuck? We believe, like, this is literally like the Gazan question. We believe a better future lies ahead. There is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to achieve self-determination and statehood for the... What do you mean there's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? What the fuck does that mean? There is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. How would it be only one opportunity for a country to not be colonized? I mean, I guess in the sense that like 6 months from now, there probably won't be any Palestinians in Gaza left. Maybe that's what they're talking about. Okay, join us. Let's see what we stand for. Tens of thousands of dead, zero to show for it. Violence is immoral, unethical, ineffective. The time to realign for Palestine is now. So this is criticizing Israel, right? Because Israel is the country, they're the actor meting out the most of the violence, like the vast majority of violence. What is this website interface? This fucking sucks. Wait. Tens of thousands dead, zero to show for it. Well, I would argue the opposite. I think Israel's killed tens of thousands of people, and they enjoy that. That's the point. The 10,000 bodies, well, not 10,000, hundreds of thousands of bodies dead, that is what they have to show for it. Like, that is the end and the mean towards the end. The Realign for Palestine project at the Atlantic Council aims to amplify pragmatic... Okay, so this is just a website he built, jerking himself off. Amplify pragmatic and rational voices that courageously hold multiple truths. He just copied and pasted this from his Twitter bio. He literally just took his platform from his Twitter bio and pasted it onto this fucking shit. What is this? Look at this. Pragmatic and humanistic ability to hold multiple truths. And then on this reallineforpalestine.org, pragmatic and rational voices that courageously hold... He just added the word courageously. Self-determination that I mean, guys, right off the bat, like, you can say that you should be an advocate for a one-state solution and for, like, freedom for all people, and you're an advocate for land back and the dissolution of Israel as an ethno-state. You can say all of that. But if you're not saying that, honestly, that doesn't really matter, because what matters right now is the end of the genocide. What matters right now is sanctions on Israel, the banning of weapon sales to Israel, the forcing Israel to open up the aid so that all of this aid can get into Gaza and we can end the starvation. If that's not the forefront of people's minds, and instead you're hyper-focused on whether it's a two-state solution or a one-state solution, and people are being too radical because they're calling for the end of genocide and they're calling for the dissolution of Israel, what you have there is a Zionist, because they insist on bogging you down in minutia and saying that, well, actually, you're advocating for the genocide of Israel. Then that means that they're just, like, trying to distract from the genocide that Israel's currently doing. So you can, like, completely ignore them. Ooh, what's this, a video? Oh, it's a minute-long video. Pragmatic... No, wait, it's just a video of him? No, please tell me he has other experts in this. No, it's just him talking the entire time. Okay, so this really is just him. There is no one else in this. Pragmatic people make peace. Extremists encourage more conflict. Oh my god, what a fucking loser. I mean, Israel's pragmatically genociding. They're pragmatically cleansing the Gaza Strip of all Palestinians. Is that peaceful?
Violence and the armed resistance narrative aren't just wrong and immoral, but they have been stunningly ineffective. Different ideologies, same outcomes, which is more death, more occupation, more settlements, more loss of lands. We need to turn this tragedy into settlements.
He just changed his shirt and got a shittier microphone.
More loss of lands. We need to turn this tragedy into an opportunity for a radically different future, for a radically different path forward. Radical pragmatism can help pause.
Radical pragmatism? This is gibberish. Radical pragmatism, that's an oxymoron. So you can't be radical, you have to be pragmatic, but now he wants you to be radically pragmatic.
This inflammatory rhetoric can help break it down into dissectable, understandable pieces and can help construct a viable framework for proceeding.
Okay, this is just gibberish. This is business speak for give me money. Let me like make mouth noises to make you think that I am advocating for something. But in reality, I'm saying nothing and I want to get paid for it. That's what he's doing here.
In a way that rejects violence, rejects terrorism, that rejects permanent military occupation, that rejects the dehumanization of Palestinians.
Holy shit, that was a horrible video. Holy shit, that was actually trash. Wait, hold on. Where did Ethan find this guy? Underneath a rock somewhere? Dude, the comments are great. People have a right to resist with arms to a violent occupation, you capo. I've just discovered. Okay. Oh my god, dude. This guy is getting roasted by half of the comments in his comment section. All right, let me read this. Let me read his transcript. Violence and the armed resistance aren't. Oh, violence and the armed resistance narrative aren't just wrong and immoral. Violence and the armed resistance narrative, like, he can never actually just say what the fuck he's talking about. He says fighting against a genociding colonial ethno-state is wrong. That's what he's saying. But they have been stunningly ineffective. Okay. So when he says they've been stunningly ineffective, like, sure, you can say, I mean, I don't know, there's not really evidence to say that if they... There isn't evidence to say that they haven't been effective, because maybe Israel would have done more genocide if there was no violent resistance. And then when we saw that, like, non-violent resistance methods, Israel was violent against them. So, like, simply marching towards the border of Israel merits a violent response from Israel. So you can, like, there's evidence to say that non-violent means is also ineffective. Okay, anyway. So then he says, different ideology, same outcomes. I don't understand what he means by that. That's just like that's just a phrase he threw in there as a buzz phrase, but like he doesn't actually, there's no meaning there. Different ideologies, same outcomes, which is more death, more like he's not saying different. If he's trying to say that there's an ideology of violence, and he's advocating for an ideology that's different from that, why would he say that different ideologies have the same outcomes? Okay, whatever. Which is more death, more occupation, more settlements, more loss of lands. Notice how he manages to talk about all of the bad things Israel's doing without actually mentioning Israel and explicitly saying that Israel's doing these things. We need to turn this tragedy into an opportunity. So gross, dude. So gross. Saying that we need to turn the genocide into an opportunity for a radically different future, for a radically different path forward. Radical pragmatism can help. Oh my god. He doesn't know what he's saying. He has nothing. He's just saying it, like, he's just riffing. He has no substance to anything, to any of these words. He's just trying to riff. Radical pragmatism can help pause this inflammatory rhetoric. It can help pause this inflammatory rhetoric, can help break it down into dissectable, understandable piece. Are you trying to pause the... You'd never mentioned inflammatory rhetoric before in this video. What inflammatory rhetoric? Now you just bring up randomly that you're targeting inflammatory this inflammatory rhetoric, not inflammatory rhetoric in general. You're trying to break... So you're trying to pause the inflammatory rhetoric, but you're also trying to break it down into dissectable, understandable pieces. So you started off by saying that it's not good because it's inflammatory and you're in favor of pragmatism, even though you say radical pragmatism. But now you're trying to say that it is good, it's just not understandable enough, and so you're trying to break it down into dissectable. Also, you're trying to break it down into dissectable pieces. So why would you want to make it into a piece that you can dissect even further? Like, oh my God. I think what I'm trying to say here is that this man is dumb. He's either extremely stupid or he's just extremely lazy in his grift, and he thinks if he can pack in enough buzzwords into his little fucking self-promotional video that he posts, then he can get money. Like, he's either really stupid or just extremely lazy and doesn't give a fuck about anything that he's advocating for. All right, we're almost done though. We're almost done. So you break it down into dissectable pieces, which, I mean, once again, is a stupid thing to write. They're understandable pieces and can help construct a viable framework for proceeding in a way that rejects violence. It's just all gibberish. I don't care. Actually reads like I was written by ChatGPT, like a bad AI.
Or push back. But what I would say is that since October 7th, there's been
I just don't want to listen to him anymore. He's so fucking stupid. Okay, we'll listen to a little bit more because this was... I did hear a soundbite from Gila that I want to get to in this interview.
Complete shift, man.
Right.
And I have a couple of theories to that. I think one of them is that, I mean, it's been like almost 10 years from October 7th since the last major war, and that's enough time for enough of the younger generations of Arab Americans, Palestinian Americans, the pro-Palestine, the Muslim Americans, the pro-Palestine movement writ large. So you have a new kind of wave of younger generations, but the other theory is that I actually think because of...
No, that's what I was saying. It's the watch. Like, is anyone else creeped out by this guy? It's not his physical appearance, but it's just the way he acts. It's like the way he carries himself. Like, I mean, the stuff he's saying is abhorrent, but just like, I don't know, man. The way he wriggles in glee whenever he blames Hamas and the pro-Palestinian movement for the genocide happening, it just gives me a fucking gross feeling in the pit of my stomach.
The success, I mean, and I'm putting that in quotes, success, it was horrible, it was a disaster, but the initial success of the attack of October 7th, I genuinely think that some people were like, oh, well, maybe armed resistance isn't so bad. Maybe it can work against a much more powerful adversary like Israel. Little did they know that within 8 hours,
Dude, this is something you're going to hear a lot of when you encounter a Zionist. They say that, oh, well, the armed resistance didn't work, therefore it's wrong. It's morally wrong. That's a non sequitur. Just because the armed resistance didn't actually solve the issue, that doesn't mean that it's wrong to resist. That doesn't mean that because you resisted, that's the justification for your extermination. But, people who defend powerful states will always say that, well, Israel's winning, so they're morally right, and the people that are getting killed are morally wrong. That's just like a fascist ideology right there. To say that whoever's powerful is in the right, and whoever's, losing, they're morally wrong, they're morally reprehensible, they're lesser than the people that are killing them. That's just straight up fascism, which I love the idea that Ethan has mainlined fascism into the veins of his audience and they don't even know it.
The Israelis were starting to push back.
Because that's something Ethan has said too. Oh well, the people that resisted Israel haven't worked, right? When he said it to Sam Cedar, well, Hamas hasn't built any kind of bomb shelters at all, huh? Isn't that crazy?
And then the bombardment began. So like it was a complete failure. And then number three, and this is where I get in the most trouble because people start thinking that I'm somehow this like far right crazy. Like I'm not. Like I'm not far right. I'm not far left. Like I'm a middle of the road. And me personally, I'll be honest with you, I'm a Democrat. I'm a registered Democrat. So, but nevertheless.
Oh, I thought he was going to say he was a registered something else, but no, we'll go with registered Democrat.
I actually think the pro-Palestine community and movement neatly plugged into.
Just please don't do that right into the camera. It's giving me jump scare vibes.
A lot of the insanity of some of the extreme woke left, and I'm not saying woke left. I'm not saying that I'm coming from like necessarily a MAGA perspective. I'm just saying that the broader environment, the 10 years since, the 2014 big war in Gaza versus 2023, almost 10 years later, things in the Western world, and particularly in the United States, are different, such that, like we don't have critical race theory in Palestine. We have now critical Palestine theory, and that is the Palestinians have no agency.
Oh my God. He's really found the intersection of Republican grievance politics where they just freak out over nothing and being a capo for like a pro-Israel capo. Wow. He has truly triangulated being a fucking shill for Israel in America. I have to give him credit because this is like a unique level of grift. It really is. Like, it's actually kind of impressive. Oh, comparing fucking CRT. I mean, honestly, the fact that he's a Democrat probably helps his career and gets him invited to more Republican circles because they're like, and now we have a Democrat talking about how crazy the woke left is. So he probably gets even more speaking positions there by voting Democrat, by insisting or like maintaining his registered Democrat status. Man. In America, like this just reads as a bad stand-up joke. In America, you have CRT, but in Palestine, we have critical Palestinian theory.
There's no accountability. What they did on October 7th was an inevitability, and that's why I call that the inevitability fraud. That October 7th was an inevitability when it wasn't. And so that's where...
Dude, Ethan Klein said that genocide that Israel's doing is an inevitability. And now this guy's like, yeah, that was inevitable. But what they did on October 7th, that wasn't inevitable. Oh my God. Oh, wow. I mean, it's just such naked hypocrisy. All you can really do is point it out and then try to laugh at it.
I was really surprised that on day 2 or 3, there were these mass protests.
Right.
Effectively celebrating it and at the same time calling it a genocide.
Right. Yeah. And so,
What? Okay. First of all, it was a genocide. Like on day 3, they were using genocidal language. They were indiscriminately bombing. They were doing mass starvation and like they were doing mass punishment to the people of Gaza. So yes, it was a genocide by day 3. You got that right. And like I love how he can't even say that they were celebrating it because they weren't. In Ethan's mind, saying free Palestine on October 7th, that is celebrating the October 7th incursion, right? And this guy's saying the same thing. Why do you think he said effectively celebrating it? Because no one was celebrating it. People weren't like, oh my God, yes, 1,200 innocent Israeli civilians were killed. Let's fucking go. No one was doing that. And that's why even as much of a grifter as he is, he still isn't lying about that because he knows he's so blatant, like it would be so easily debunked. That's why he has to say effectively celebrating it. That's why if people are like, oh yeah, I'm pro Gaza on October 8th, 2023, then he can say, oh, well, you're effectively celebrating the October 7th massacre.
What strikes me is the difference between what appears to be the difference between what the people in Gaza actually want and advocate for, and then what Western leftists are being like, actually, no, you guys need to fight till you're all dead. Like it's just it strikes.
Oh man, he's such a gross monster. Also good pause frame. So he said this before. He said that Hassan wants Palestinians to die because he keeps saying like, oh yeah, fight till you're dead. He believes that if Hamas just surrendered, then Israel would stop. And that's obviously not true. I mean, he's just a fucking monster defending Israel, blaming Palestinians for the genocide that's happening. Notice how he says what the Palestinian people want. He says, Hassan says, just keep fighting until you're dead. Is he talking about Hamas here? I mean, Ethan betrays the idea that he thinks all Palestinians are to blame for this when he says, just keep fighting until you're dead. Right? So the assumption there is that all Palestinians are militants. That's the assumption.
What strikes me is the difference between what appears to be the difference between what the people in Gaza actually want and advocate for, and then what Western leftists are being like, actually, no, you guys need to fight till you're all dead. Like, it strikes me as so deeply ironic. And like you said, there's a bigotry of
Yeah, so he says, the people of Gaza, he's saying the Western leftists say that the people of Gaza need to fight until they're all dead. The assumption there that Ethan's making is that the people of Gaza are fighting, and that's what's causing Israel to keep bombing them. So he's basically saying that everyone in Gaza, the people of Gaza, his words, the people of Gaza are making Israel kill them because they're resisting. And Hassan advocating for them, like saying that, no, I don't think violent resistance against a genocidal apartheid state is a bad thing. Ethan says that, oh, well, you're just like furthering this Holocaust then because you're not saying to not fight. Like people in Gaza are going to keep fighting because Hassan told them to. What the fuck?
expectations where it's like, of course these people are going to act like barbarians. Of course they're going to want to be violent. Of course they're going to be like this. It's like, no, that
act like barbarians, fighting against like shooting down a drone, marching towards the gate, like marching towards the border of Israel as a peaceful protest, burning tires so that you don't get shot and you make a smoke screen. That's acting like barbarians, dude. What the? Oh my god. Yeah, and I love how the other point that I have to make here is that he says that Hassan has bigotry of low expectations. You and your wife said that it would be so much easier if you could just be against the genocide, but since you grew up in Israel, then it's a harder thing for you to denounce. Is that not is that not exactly what you're talking about here? So once again, your wife can become a terrorist because she grew up in a country that demanded, like she grew up in a terrorist country that demanded her to enlist and it had mandatory enforcement. But when it's Hamas resisting and you look at the idea that Israel is like colonizing Gaza, Israel's colonizing the West Bank, they're oppressing them, and violent resistance just forms to resist against that oppression, then it's bigotry of low expectations to explain that and lay that out, rather than, explaining the material conditions of their existence and why they made the choices they're making, why they're violently resisting an apartheid state. But when it's your wife, it's just like, that's totally okay to explain why. But like, when it's brown people, when it's Arabs, then they're behaving like barbarians.
it doesn't. How little do you think of them that you think that they have to act out in this way? Like, it's one thing to say,
like, dude, oh my god. First of all, that's not the bigotry of low expectations. Secondly, Ethan's basically saying that the Palestinians are being barbarians, but they don't have to be barbarians. That's what he's saying.
Right. Yeah. And so, what strikes me is the difference between what appears to be the difference between what the people in Gaza actually want and advocate for, and then what Western leftists are being like, actually, no, you guys need to fight till you're all dead. Like it's just it strikes me as so deeply ironic. And like you said, there's a bigotry of low expectations where it's like, of course these people are going to act like barbarians.
Like, dude, he's just saying the way he feels about Palestinians, but he's saying that like Hassan justifies that by saying that of course they're going to act like that. Like what he's doing right now is he's being bigoted against Palestinians, but pretending like that's the way that Hassan feels about Palestinians. But he's actually just talking about the way he feels about them. He's giving his mental image of Palestinians and then being like, well, of course Hassan would justify that because he has low expectations of them. Like, also, bigotry of low expectations is done by racist people. Ethan, if you think Hassan's doing that, then you're thinking that you have you're thinking Hassan has lower expectations of Palestinians. You're basically like, yeah, Hassan's racist against Palestinians. Sounds like you might be a little bit racist against Palestinians. If that's the thing, if that's what you think Hassan is doing, he's explaining their material conditions. He's not being racist against them. Maybe that's what you're doing, and you're projecting onto Hassan.
Of course they're going to want to be violent. Of course they're going to be like this. It's like, no, that doesn't. How little do you think of them that you think that they have to?
Like, once again, I love the idea that he's like, Hassan thinks that of course they're going to be barbarians. Hassan has never called them barbarians, but you just did. You just called them barbarians. You said that the entire Palestinian people is violent.
To act out in this way. Like, it's one thing to say, I understand why they're doing it. I understand the mentality of how they got there and how they got radicalized. But this presumption that, like, of course, it's like you were saying, the inevitability of fraud, it's that. Of being like, of course they're going to have to, like, go slaughter a bunch of civilians. What do you expect? And it's like, that can't be true.
Precisely that, brother. And I mean, I was on a YouTube show.
Not precisely that. That was not precise.
Famous, European, let's not mention names. I don't like to mention names. But I was a famous economist. And he's like,
what are you talking about? What do you mean not mention names? What did the person who interviewed him say, I'm going to delete that episode, please don't say that I was associated with you at all?
He knows best because those Europeans, they're going to tell me as a Gazan what time it is. And he was like, well, of course the Palestinians in Gaza are going to act, his words verbatim, this is a quote, of course the Gazans are going to act like animals.
Yeah, he said that.
Yes, on live YouTube show. Of course they're going to act like animals on October 7th. And like total barbarians, because Israel made them into animals and barbarians. Israel made them into animals.
That's what Ethan just said, dude. He just said that. He's like, oh yeah, the Palestinians act all violent and barbaric. And I say that they have the freedom of choice to make that decision. But Hassan's the one that says it's inevitable. And he's the one that says that it's a bigotry of low expectations. Okay, but you still define the way they're acting based off of your own opinion of them. And your own opinion of them is pretty fucking racist.
Okay, we need a little bit of a timeout, sir. First of all, that is incredibly racist. And then he got all worked up. Like, no, I'm not racist.
That's what Ethan just did. Holy shit, you're like calling out... Oh my god. You're calling out Ethan without even realizing it. These two people are too stupid to understand the conversation they're having.
I was like, whoa. Excuse me, sir. First of all, the decision to launch October 7th was a decision. It was a choice. It was not an inevitability. It didn't have to happen. All of these Western, experts in academia make it seem like Gaza was starving, that Gazans were like a North Korea style famine in 94.
What is he doing? What are these hand motions? Bro, actually, this guy's freaking me out. He's like, dude, the Gazans are starving, and then Israel's bombing them, and they keep bombing them, and then we just have to... what is this man doing? He needs to calm down. NJ Ranger, where is he hearing leftists say, fight till you're all dead, re-Gaza? And by the way, Atlantic Council guy, isn't that what you say about Ukrainians? I mean, I don't know what the fuck he says about Ukrainians, but... actually, what the fuck is happening with this man? He's literally dancing in his chair describing Israel's war crimes against Gaza. He is just way too happy. Also, the thing he's saying doesn't even make sense. If he's saying it's racist to say that Palestinians were acting like animals on October 7th, then how does that have anything to do with it being a choice on October 7th? Just say, no, they were like doing terror against Israel. You can say that. Oh, they're not acting like animals. If you want to say that they're acting like animals, then you have to describe like what Israel's doing as animals, because otherwise you're racist and just being like saying that brown people are more animalistic than the Israelis. Oh, my camera fucked up. I mean, this man is, he's having a good time on this show. That's all I can say. I honestly can't believe Ethan platformed this guy.
All of these Western, experts in academia make it seem like Gaza was starving, that Gazans were like a North Korea-style famine in '94, crawling on the floor looking for crumbs of food, when in fact, this was a decision by Sinwar and Dave, two psychopaths underground, who not only didn't consult the rest of Gaza, they didn't even consult the rest of Hamas and the rest of Iran and the axis of resistance, Iran and Hezbollah, who had nebulous ideas about this happening. But basically, he went into like total operational security mode and decided to do this on his own. My point is that this was a very narrow, specific operation against Saudi and Israeli normalization. This was a military coup within Hamas. Hamas's popularity was down in the toilet in Gaza before October 7th. So this was an attempt to rejuvenate the armed resistance narrative and fraud, but on behalf of which Hamas siphoned so many resources of the Palestinian people's resources. And again, I say this because my goal is, like, I'm not self-hating. I'm not self-flagellating. Like, I love my people. I'm proud of the people of Gaza. I think the people of Gaza, many of them, have incredible potential, incredible talent. Many people in Gaza, they ran successful businesses. There were beaches, there were hotels, there were...
Why would he say that? Why would he be like, I'm not self-hating. I actually love Palestinian people. I think even 100 of them have potential to become businessmen. What do you mean they have potential? Just say they're people and they should be treated with respect. That almost killed me.
First shopping malls during the blockade, okay? And by the way, yes, of course, Gaza also had some of the most polluted water and issues with that were the result of the blockade. But the blockade, people understand the blockade. The blockade was not this stagnant regime. It was a system that evolved since 2006, and it went through multiple phases.
You don't understand. The blockade on Gaza, that was a nuanced blockade. We have to have things not in black and white, but in a wide spectrum of colors. There's a very nuanced blockade on Gaza. That's what people don't understand, and that's relevant. How
there were at times when it was as harsh and horrendous and inhumane as calculating the number of calories by the IDF that the people of Gaza needed to survive. Oh, like at one point, John Kerry went into Gaza and he looked at the list of prohibited items, and it was like pasta and like Crayolas and stuff. And after a reassessment, especially after the 2014 war, there was a fundamental reassessment of the blockade regime, where there was an effort by Kogat and by elements within the Israeli apparatus to try to let Gaza flourish from a business point of view, to try
not all Palestinians should be killed.
The Qataris come in, and that's a whole...
The ones with potential should be let in.
Other beast that we'll tackle in a little bit, with Netanyahu then using that as a way to keep the Palestinians divided and as political leverage. And that's where I think there needs to be accountability on the Israeli side for this 3D chess.
Careful. You're getting a little too close to the sun there, buddy. Oh, there needs to be accountability on the Israeli side. I don't know. I think that like you're being a little presumptuous and telling Israelis how to run their own society. You better chill out there, buddy.
Horribly. But the point is, on the Israeli Palestinians divided and as political leverage, and that's where I think there needs to be accountability on the Israeli side for this 3D chess that backfired horribly. But the point is that I actually would argue up to October 7th.
Okay, so Israel doing a complete blockade on Gaza, on the Gaza Strip, is a 3D chess that they're doing. That's how nuanced it is. They're playing 3D chess and it backfired horribly. So he's just admitting that the blockade is what caused October 7th to happen. The way that Israel treated Gaza as a concentration camp is what caused violent resistance to come out. Why would he say that the 3D chess Israel played, I guess they were playing it with themselves, backfired. What's the backfire he's referring to? Is it going to explain what that is? Or is he just going to, accidentally let it slip that Israel caused October 7th to happen by doing the blockade?
The blockade was at arguably its lowest point, whereby there were 20,000 people that were working in Israel, and that number was about to go to 50,000. My mom, I was regularly talking to her. My mom, when I came to the United States, I came here when I was 15, and none of my immediate or extended family came with me. I came by myself, and I was never able to go back in 2006 when Hamas abducted an Israeli soldier.
I wonder why.
I always had
because of Hamas, right?
Like physical connection to the land. Through my dad ran an UNRWA, the UN refugee clinic agency, rather, that ended up becoming controversial during this war. He ran their clinic in Jabal.
It became controversial because it was helping Palestinians too much. I mean, Jesus Christ, he just can't bring any kind of criticism towards Israel. He's like, we need to hold Israel accountable for the 3D chess they played, which was blockading Gaza, that ended up backfiring. So, we needed to just hold them responsible for, not doing a good enough blockade on Gaza.
Oh, yeah, in northern Gaza. My brother ran their beach clinic. My oldest brother is in Gaza right now. He is the field director, one of the biggest medical NGOs there.
I honestly wonder what his family thinks about him. I don't know if they're, man, I don't know if they're proud of him, man. So he's not doing good shit outside of Gaza.
Sorry, the dog. we have a room full of dogs that just got spooked by something. Go on. Sorry, apologies.
No worries. My point is, October, within the imbalance. This is what many commentators don't get.
I'm speeding this up. This guy is a yapper.
Asymmetry of power between
yada yada. This
and
part.
Israelis, with one side, the Israelis clearly having overwhelming advantage. There is still, nevertheless, space within said imbalance for Palestinian agency and accountability and responsibility to optimize for better decision making, to optimize for better circumstances, so that you don't hand our people on a silver platter to the most far-right government in Israel's history, committing the worst single-day attack on the Jewish people since the Holocaust, on a government that has Smotrich, Ben-Gvir, and Netanyahu. And so that's where I speak with passion, and that to me is what's missing from the discourse.
Oh my God. Okay, so yeah, he's admitting that his only focus is on what the Palestinians have done badly, causing them to get genocided. That's his only focus. That means he's a Zionist propaganda. He can go fuck himself.
It's easy to go on endlessly attacking Israel to the moon and back. And you know what? If that suits you, that's for some people, that's their prerogative, though I feel like that's become kind of a trendy thing to do. But if you actually attacking Israel, and that to me is what's missing from the discourse. It's easy to go on endlessly attacking Israel to the moon and back.
It's easy to attack Israel, but it's not profitable to attack Israel. That's what he's saying, dude. Holy shit. Yeah, just spell it out for us, my man.
And you know what? If that suits you, that's for some people, that's their prerogative, though I feel like that's become kind of a trendy thing to do.
Oh, it's too trendy. It's too trendy to actually criticize the country that's doing the genocide. I found my lane. I think there's a lane open to criticize the people that have been getting genocided for not optimizing their genocide experience. They haven't opted into genocide plus will kill you even faster and less painfully. Holy fuck, dude. Actually, just outright admitting he's a grifter. I love it.
But if you actually genuinely want to help the Palestinian people, if you want to learn from our past mistakes, if you want our people to learn from the repeated failures of 77 years since 1948, then it's time to look inward. And again, that's not...
If you want our people to learn from our mistakes, it's time to look inward. Might be the soundbite of this genocide. Holy shit. Just the peak grifterness. Oh my God. Have you tried looking inside yourself? I mean, it's easy to do when Israel bombs you and you have your guts spilling all over your lap. Then you can look inside yourself. But then maybe you can actually find a solution because your guts are over there. Your leg is over there and your arm is crushed underneath a rock beside you. You're going to fucking die. Even if you didn't get bombed, you're going to starve to death. But now at least you can self-gaze, have an inward moment. Holy shit.
Blaming the victim. I actually think that's the first step to empowering the Palestinian people instead of all of these.
Look, I know you got raped, but I'm not blaming you. I'm trying to empower you by understanding what you did wrong, okay? Oh my god, like literally just the scum of the earth. Scum of the earth.
Academics rushing.
And the fact that he hides behind a veneer of actually trying to get peace, it makes it even worse. Like, I'd rather have him just be like, yeah, I think Palestinians are just an inferior culture. I got out. But, you know, there are some Palestinians with potential. Like, the fact that he didn't even say Palestinians are good and we shouldn't kill them. But he's like, no, like, some can change. Some cannot be violent, disgusting, like, Arab extremists. Some like me, we can, like, make ourselves whiter. Holy God. There are some Palestinians with potential. I can't believe he said that.
To say, oh, y'all have no agency, no accountability, y'all are angels, whatever you do, you can't be blamed because it's all Israel's fault.
You know, there's seems to be a growing movement of people protesting Hamas at seemingly a great risk to their own personal safety. I know I read some of the protesters
literally
were
not
executed and left like at his parents' house or something like that outside.
That was a guy who wasn't killed for protesting Hamas. He was killed because he was like detained by Hamas in the past. He was dumped outside his parents' house it kind of coordinated with the protest. It was around the same time as the protest. He wasn't killed for protesting. Ethan's just a dumbass. And also, even though there were some elements of protest that were anti-Hamas, they were protesting Israel. Every single article you look up will be like, yes, first and foremost, these were protests against Israel, even though there were some elements that were against Hamas, and that's what was noteworthy. Oh my God, he just doesn't do any kind of reading, and he just lies to his audience to try to support his worldview that Hamas and the dirty Arabs are the ones to blame for this. I mean, he's just a racist piece of shit that can't not defend a genocidal ethno-state.
But there seems to be a growing protest, and simultaneously, there seems to be people like Hassan Piker and people like him who are simultaneously kind of discrediting them or trying to change their motives. He'll say like it's not that serious.
You know what it is, Ethan? It's not lying. It's not changing their motives. It's not rewriting history. It's reading a fucking article about the protest movement. You didn't do that. You didn't fucking do that. Like, holy shit, pull up an article and read it, you dumb motherfucker. Like, it's triggering me so much.
They're there to protest Israel primarily. They don't actually hate Hamas, or they're there because of whatever. He thinks it's not a big deal. There's not a lot of people there. They're actually there to protest Israel primarily, and this is just propaganda.
It is.
Again, it's like
they are
these leftist liberals, or I mean these
leftist liberals,
Western leftists. I feel like they're clearly not helping. And I don't.
He's such a petty bitch, dude. He's so fucking dumb. He's just like, Western leftists. They just suck. He has nothing. He can't do anything. He has nothing that he can actually say that has any kind of substance. So he just sits there and is like, I feel like they're not good. I feel like they're bad. Okay, dude. Great. I love this political commentary arc that you've went on. Holy shit. Holy shit, dude. Actually, you're melting the brain of your audience. Everyone who watches his podcast and just listens to it uncritically gets dumber every single minute that they listen to you drivel on and on and on about stuff you have nothing that you know about. It's all feelings for you. Yeah, Ethan is the epitome of TLDR.
I just don't understand, you know? And like the way that they're now defending this shooter in DC, or not maybe defending, but excusing. A lot of people are defending,
Oh, yeah. A lot of people are defending. So you say a claim, you know that claim isn't true, you back off on it, and then you're like, no, actually, it is true. Okay, pull up the evidence. If you want to say that they're doing this, pull up the evidence. Otherwise, shut the fuck up.
A lot of people are excusing.
Oh, a lot of people are outright defending him.
Yeah, and so it's like, this is, then I see Netanyahu giving these insane fucking speeches, or other government officials of Israel, and I'm like, I hate these people, and now these people are saying like the most heinous, insane shit that I never want to hear them.
Ethan, you agree with it. You say that from the river to the sea is an anti-Semitic phrase. Netanyahu says Free Palestine is today's Hail Hitler. What's the difference between those two? You're in agreement with that shit. Don't pretend like you're not.
saying, and it's like it's making everything worse.
The ADL said that Hassan was to blame for the DC shooter. You agree with that? You say Hassan's spreading dangerous anti-Semitic propaganda. Why are you pretending like you don't agree with the worst elements of the same movement that you're a part of? I mean, the same like pro-Israel propaganda that you're a part of.
It's giving these people a platform in Israel who are the worst, and it's giving just more justification for the.
Oh, the Western leftists are giving Netanyahu a platform. I actually can't believe he said that. I can't believe he said Western leftists are giving Netanyahu a platform. I guess we should all delete our channels and then Netanyahu would spontaneously combust, apparently. Maybe that's the cure to killing the devil. Every leftist that fights against fascism just stops talking about fascism and suddenly fascism disappears. It's like a magic trick.
These so-called activists online who are cheering on more violence. It's just I don't understand the point, and it just doesn't seem complicated to me. As they're
not doing that. Shut the fuck. Like, give us evidence.
So I wanna say something just for the record. Like, I don't know Mr. Piker. I know of him through you explicitly. I am disappointed recently by the fact that he hosted a gentleman by the name of the Bad Empanada.
Oh, you know about him?
The Bad Empanada has incited so heavily against me. Some of the worst death threats that I have received against my life came from people directly affiliated.
Okay, so he's been cited against you. The worst death threats of your life came from people that were affiliated with him. Okay, I love this. So people affiliated with Bad Empanada, I don't know what that means. They commented on his videos, like told you to kill yourself online, and then Bad Empanada never did anything bad to you. Hassan Piker never did anything bad to you, but because you had someone be mean to you online and they were affiliated with Bad Empanada, and then he went on a stream with Hassan, then you're going to criticize Hassan. Okay, love this.
Do you know how often I hear that?
Let's just take a one moment to step back and talk about the degrees of responsibility that people have. Hassan says that violence is never the answer. He doesn't advocate for violence against Zionists. He doesn't even advocate for violence against just like run-of-the-mill fascists or Nazis. He explains why violence gets caused by a genocidal apartheid colonial state. So he can explain that. He doesn't advocate for violence. He actually advocates for the end of violence by trying to use economic and diplomatic pressure to get Israel to stop the genocide. Okay, that's what he directly advocates for. You can't pin him on anything that he directly advocates for. So you have to say that Hassan was on a stream with a guy who you had people telling you to kill yourself and they watched his videos in the past, and then he went on a stream with Hassan, and thus you're going to try to criticize Hassan. That's like a 5-degree point of difference between Hassan, what he says, and then people like being mean to you online. You are a pro-genocide advocate. You just said that you decide to not focus on the genociders. Instead, you choose to criticize the genocidees. I would say that's doing defense for a genocide. You're on a show with a guy who does the exact same thing, who can't even bring himself to call it a genocide, and instead also chooses to focus on the people who are getting genocided and blames them for their own demise, okay? So you guys are both victim blaming. I can point to specific things that each of you have said to make you feel bad and to call you shitty people, right? I don't have to go to your fans, or I don't have to go to the fans of someone that you once did a stream with to say that you were bad because of what those people said. So, I mean, maybe if you're going to say, I don't know someone, but I'm going to criticize them, have a bit of stronger criticism than he was once on a stream with a guy whose fans were mean to me online.
Yeah.
And he did a whole hit piece on me, and for some reason he just dedicated so much of his energy to me, and I was like, dude, just let it go, let it be.
Bad Empanada makes a hit piece video on someone like twice a week, so you're not special.
There was a hit piece on me by basically a leftist rag that's like a Russian, Iranian, North Korean propaganda outlet that claimed Israel is paying me $30 million to promote genocide. And of course, you know, Mr. Empanada.
I hope it's true, because otherwise you're not getting your money's worth.
Of respectability politics. And, you know, again, and I'm speaking about this not in a personalized sense. I've had way worse guys than Mr. Empanada come out. I've had Al-Qaeda guys.
Bro, it's triggering me that he calls him Mr. Empanada. Why would you do that?
Straight up, and it's all here threatened to, which is weird because I'm single, I don't have kids, threatened to behead, to rape my children, behead my wife, and then rape me and behead me. And these are like people like Al-Qaeda, like high, like...
Subtly dropping that he's single without kids onto a YouTube channel where he's going to get probably like 500,000 views. What is this at? 580, wow. Pretty low, honestly. 582,000 views. It's like, ladies, you can reach out to me at my personal organization, single, no kids.
They're like big Al-Qaeda guys coming after me to the point where I've had to acquire the means to defend myself.
Wow.
So this is not a pity party. I'm simply saying that, you know, having Mr. Hassan and the bad Empanada, two non-Palestinians, sitting up there pontificating about, you know, what is good for the Palestinians and genocide.
Two non-Palestinians? Okay.
Genocide that and resistance, like
he just yada-yada'd the genocide again, and genocide this, genocide that. Oh wow, he really is just can't bring himself. I mean, he's a good propagandist. I'll give him that. Actually, he's not a good propagandist, but in the sense that he's avoiding any kind of criticism for Israel, he's doing a good job.
Like how pompous can one get is that? But Mr. Piker, if he has any interest in actually engaging.
Wait, how pompous can one get? By talking about a genocide and the best ways to end the genocide, that's being pompous?
What is good for the Palestinians and genocide this and genocide that and resistance, how pompous can one get is that? But Mr. Piker,
I mean, dude, the criticism against Hassan and people that advocate for like the end of the genocide is just baseless. There's nothing. They have nothing to say.
If he has any interest in actually engaging in this and actually like engaging in a goodwill conversation,
I would love that. I would love to see him talk to you. I don't think he will because it's too disruptive. But it's too disruptive to his message. Yeah.
I have personally been. I mean, I've come this close to disavowing the entirety, and this is something that as a radical pragmatist, you know, because I launched the Realign for Palestine, which is about radical pragmatism, a rejection of violence, multiple truths, different layers of it.
Bro, it's 1984 shit. Like, just fucking oxymoronic language that this man is employing to defend Israel, to defend Israel's genocide. He's literally saying radical pragmatism, like, and multiple truths. What the fuck are you talking about? We're just speaking plain English. Be clear and concise and bold with what you're advocating for. You're not advocating for anything. You're advocating to stop looking at Israel, to stop being mean to Israel. That's all that you're advocating for. You're a loser, my friend.
Of engagement, dialogue, conversations, not as kumbaya, but actually as a pragmatic, meaningful way of establishing common ground. And I've come this, but despite the aforementioned, I've come this close to disavowing the entirety of the pro-Palestine movement as basically being a complete fraud.
I mean, I just love this so much. I've come this close to disavowing the entirety of the pro-Palestine movement. The reason you haven't is because being a pro-Israel guy who, like, pro-Israel, pro-MAGA, but you say that you're a Democrat and that you're pro-Palestine, that is your grift. That's why you haven't.
And I know people in it who are following me, who are trying their best, and I know there are good people in the movement. This is just the only thing that's out there, and I'm trying really hard to be compassionate. And what really, like, the two things that have just made it so exceptionally difficult, never mind the attacks on me, calling me a Zionist, the constant threats.
Oh no, I hope you have enough pearls to clutch. Oh no, people call you a Zionist. That's so bad. Give me a fucking break, dude.
College campuses when I speak and interrupt me and
oh, people interrupt you? Oh no, get this man a hug box. He needs someone. Why didn't they have him in studio? Ethan and Gila should have hugged him and added him to their family. This is like an anime where they have found family. Three fucking genocidal monsters who try to say that they're still pro-Palestinian find each other at long last. They invite him into their home. He replaces their maid that's suing them, cleans up their dog's shit. And then they have they live happily ever after as the perfect throuple. Just victim blaming genocide victims until the day they die. I love it.
Just made it so exceptionally difficult. Never mind the attacks on me, calling me a Zionist, the constant threats. They go and harass me on college campuses when I speak and interrupt me and scream free Palestine at me. Imagine screaming free Palestine at a Palestinian from Gaza who literally runs a program called Realign for Palestine, who has family that was killed in Gaza, who is literally deaf in his left ear because of a bombing by the
Well, maybe that's why they're screaming. You can't hear it.
Of yelling
The
back.
arrogance.
The arrogance.
Yeah.
So sorry, I'm just.
No, I trust me, I totally get it.
Oh my god, Ethan looks fucking evil here. Holy shit.
So sorry, I'm just.
No, trust me, I totally get it.
Look at him, dude. Actually looks like a fucking horror movie villain. Like, imagine this in a dark closet and you wake up at night and this is staring at you. So, I mean, goddamn. Just the black of his eyes. Black eyes. What's the Jaws? What's the Jaws speech? It's got dark eyes, black eyes, soulless when they come to bite ya. Nightmare fuel.
What happened since the anti-Hamas? What happened with the pro-Palestine movement since the anti-Hamas protests in Gaza? Has exposed it all, has laid it bare for everybody to see. All the journalists, all the social media influencers, all the outlets, the independent outlets out there. This was disruptive to the narrative. This turned things upside down. Nobody touched it. A mere handful of people wanted to touch it. I was supporting these folks in Gaza. I was helping them out. I was sending some of them money. I was giving them messaging advice. They asked me, what do we do? They asked me, mobilize support. You're in Washington. Go talk to policymakers. I went to Capitol Hill. I talked to folks. I was trying desperately to get the mainstream media attention. These guys are not only the true freedom fighters, but they also actually proved wrong the insane Hasbara.
I mean, this is just a fantastical delusion that this man has. Nothing that he's saying is true. So, I can break down and respond to everything that he says, but I'm just gonna say that it's not true because it's not. They were not anti-Hamas protests. They were anti-Israel protests. Some elements of the protests were anti-Hamas, but it was during a blockade of all aid that Israel did. Israel was the one blockading food, water, medicine, stopping electricity from coming through, continuously bombing them, killing 9,000 more Palestinians on record, through bombing during that time. And to act like, I mean, I know his entire shtick is relieving Israel from any kind of blame, guilt, or agency that they have done. I mean, he just outright said so. I want to focus on what the Palestinians have done that has made Israel genocide them. That's what he said. I know that's his entire shtick. But once again, this is just another example of that. To act like the protests were not against Israel is insane. And that is Zionist propaganda. That is pro-genocide propaganda. It's blaming the victim. It's removing any kind of agency or blame or responsibility from the actual party that's perpetrating these war crimes. And then he's just going to sit there and be like, no, I'm pro-Palestine. And the people that are actually calling out what Israel's doing, they're the ones that are pompous and entitled and self-indulgent. They're just doing it to virtue signal how much they care about victims. I mean, to the grifter, everyone is doing a grift. That's what we're seeing here.
Pro-Israel people that said everybody in Gaza is a terrorist. Everybody in Gaza loves Hamas. Everybody in Gaza. By the way, these people have always been there. They just, as Hamas has been weakened and as Hamas has become just that much more fascistic, they've decided to come forth. And so, to see the ladder of escalation, it started with total radio silence about the anti-Hamas protesters, and it was so funny to see The indirect union, Ethan, listen to this very carefully, my brother. The indirect union between the crazy pro-Palestine people and the insane and I'm putting pro-Palestine in quotes and pro-Israel in quotes, union between the pro-Palestine.
Why does he keep going like this? Why does he keep like being like the pro-Palestine and then the pro-Israel part? Dude, I'm starting to think this man is a confirmed bachelor, if you know what I mean. Maybe he wasn't trying to get the women in his DMs when he dropped that he was single without any kids. Maybe that was a hint for something else.
Crazies and the pro-Israel crazies. The pro-Palestine crazies who love Hamas, who are anti-Semitic, who believe in the armed resistance.
We have to forgive me. We have to get the pro-Israel people and then the pro-Palestine people, and we just have to get them to come together. We have to get them to come together face to face so that we can all sit down and have a mutual understanding with each other. Bro, what is this man on?
Fraud. And the pro-Israel people who believe that everybody in Gaza is Hamas, everybody's a terrorist. And so both parties had an interest in diminishing, overlooking, undermining, or ignoring the anti-Hamas protesters in Gaza. And so it is the height of irony, the mother of all ironies, that is the only common ground they have managed to establish throughout the entirety of this war, is they were united against the innocent civilian people of Gaza who risked lives. Some of them are my very sick, very, very sick. But then focusing back on the pro-Palestine movement, then they took it a step further recently. And then we saw an actual overt attack against the actual true freedom fighters of Gaza. Not the rapists and the murderers and the beheaders and the people who burn people alive and the attackers and the child kidnappers and the murderers and the evil Hamas guys. No. Those are not freedom fighters. Those are a bunch of guys with salaries. Those guys all have salaries. Being a Hamas terrorist is an actual salary, okay? No, the real freedom fighters who were literally protesting a terrorist ISIS-like fascistic organization while Israeli bombs were falling all around them, who were not getting paid for any of this, who were entirely organic, who, by the way, were not getting paid. Terrorist ISIS-like fascistic organization while Israeli bombs were falling all around them, who were not getting paid.
Oh my God! Once again, he has to he's trying to explain how brave it was to protest Hamas, but he can't just say that it's brave because Hamas was cracking down on the protests. It's just it's just unavoidable for him to have to say it's brave because Gaza was getting bombed by Israeli bombs. Which, once again, you're protesting Hamas while you're getting bombed with Israeli bombs. What do you think the protests were about? They were about the bombs. They were about Israel blocking all food, water, electricity, and medical aid. What? The truth is just unavoidable for them. And whenever they stumble upon the truth, they just ignore it. It's like walking around blind in a cave, and whenever they see some kind of light, they just pretend like they didn't.
For any of this, who were entirely organic, who, by the way,
Hamas had W-2s.
Fomented those sentiments. They had to organically come from Gaza. And like I said, they've always been there. Some of the pro-Israel people were like, well, these people are only protesting now because of the consequences of the war. Total BS, total hogwash. These people, there's always been, societal, political, ideological, and religious opposition to Hamas in Gaza. It's just that now the group's behavior has just pushed people to the breaking point. So that's where
I mean, once again, pretending like Hamas's behavior has devolved so much and has become so authoritarian and brutal that's what caused the protests. He's living in a fantasy land. The idea that while Israel is doing a blockade, starving people out, explicitly to starve people out, and bombing Palestinians, killing 9,000 Palestinians in Gaza since the ceasefire ended, the idea he sees all of this. I don't know, maybe he doesn't see all of it, maybe he doesn't keep up to date, but anyway, he sees there are protests happening underneath that context, and he says that the protests are happening now because Hamas has just become that more authoritarian. This is a delusional person, just completely living in a fantasy land. like let's take the case that they are protesting against Hamas. The small amount of time devoted to protesting against Hamas from that protest movement that took place over a few weeks, the small amount of that protest that was devoted to protesting Hamas was doing so that Hamas would try to in an attempt to get Israel to stop bombing them. They were protesting Hamas, saying, just release all of the hostages and then Israel will stop bombing us. That's what they were protesting. They weren't protesting Hamas because Hamas was too authoritarian. They were basically being like, Hamas, you should sacrifice yourself so that Israel will stop killing us. Just nothing this person said has anything to do with reality whatsoever, and he's just constructed this fantasy world where he can be against Hamas while being pro-Palestinian so that he can get paid by Zionist lobby groups.
How do we support people in Gaza who are, as you say, the real freedom fighters?
Well, we actually amplify the heck out of their actions and activities.
Guys, let's just extend this logic. If you are a Palestinian and you protest Hamas, you're a freedom fighter. Thus, if you attack Hamas, you're a freedom fighter. Thus, what Israel is doing in Gaza is fighting for freedom. Killing Hamas is actually a worthy goal because it's Israel giving freedom to the Palestinian people. So now, not only are they blaming Hamas for Israel's actions, but they have circled around to defending the actions of Israel. They have defending Israel's actions because Israel is targeting Hamas, and the people within Gaza that are targeting Hamas, that are protesting Hamas, they're freedom fighters, they're warriors, they're like the true heroes of the Palestinian resistance because they're resisting Hamas. Well, Israel's just helping that, right? Israel's helping along that goal. Israel's goal is to get rid of Hamas. They're saying the goal of getting rid of Hamas is the true hero of this movement. That's the true pathway towards peace. It's getting rid of Hamas. So they're justifying Israel's genocidal actions. I mean, it's just simple enough as that. Just once again, they actually can't ever speak that into existence because, in theory, they're against whatever Israel's doing, you know. They're against yada, 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 Israel's actions in Gaza. But they're not actually against it. If you take their positions to just even one more step.
Expose those who are opposing them, and literally, Ethan, just the reason why I was emphasizing the ironic unity, like shame the pro-Palestine people by telling them that you are in an indirect, because a lot of the pro-Israel people that follow me, because they love my anti-Hamas message, but they really are only interested in that, they're like, no, we don't believe them. These people are not insincere. This is Takia. They only want to stop the bombing. They don't love the Jews. They don't. And I'm like, you guys are so stupid. There's a reason why a bunch.
Okay. Also, you probably shouldn't have said that. I'm going to give this man points for being a better pro-Israel propagandist. Don't say, if your position is that Hamas is what's caused all of this the entire time, don't then say that the pro-Israel people that follow me, I mean, you're giving the game away when you say you're followed by pro-Israel people, but don't then say that the pro-Israel people that follow me are racist against the Palestinians and say that even the ones protesting Hamas are still anti-Semitic and hate Jews. Don't say, if you're trying to say that Hamas is the cause of this genocide, don't say that Israel's so racist that not even Israel, but the people that support Israel are so racist that they don't care about the people protesting Hamas and they just want them killed anyway. Don't say that, because that's not doing a good job of defending your point. You should say that the pro-Israel people that follow me are enlightened and are like, yes, Hamas is the issue, thus we support the good Palestinians. Even though that's racist, that's still a better argument, that's a better propaganda talking point than being like, Well, even the pro-Israeli people are super racist, and they don't even like the ones that are. They don't even like the quote-unquote good Palestinians, the ones with potential. They don't even like them. Israel's so fucking racist that, you know, that racism that I just described completely undermines the entire point that I've been talking about for the last 25 minutes. I mean, come on, dude. You're a better propagandist than that. Don't criticize Israel don't ever criticize Israel. Don't even ever criticize the people that support Israel.
Of misbehaving, you know, college students on undergrads have been able to beat Hasbara and the pro-Israel advocacy movement, because there is just such a blob of messaging. When it's not a dynamic messaging, it doesn't humanize the Palestinian people. It doesn't acknowledge that the Palestinian people are diverse and not monolithic. Again, this is actually another point of convergence between the crazy pro-Israel and crazy pro-Palestine people, is that there is an unwillingness to acknowledge that Gaza society, Palestinians in Gaza, they're not monolithic in how they see Hamas. And in fact, there's, as you start open so brilliantly.
I mean, does this man know that he's talking to someone who blamed Palestinians for the Arab expulsion of Jews from Arab states? Or the Jewish expulsion from Arab states? I mean, Ethan said it was the fucking Arabs that expelled Jews from Arab states, so man, I don't know. I don't think Ethan would agree with you, dude. Like, come on, man. Know your interlocutor.
At the beginning, I love how you open. There's totally a disconnect, and that's my raison d'etre. That's why I'm out there. That's why I deal with the threats, and I deal with the empanadas, and I deal with the Dalai Lamas, and I deal with the fools, and I deal with the attacks and whatever, because the people of Gaza are what sustains me. The people of Gaza are what give me hope.
The ones with potential sustain
it. Folks who genuinely and sincerely make it worthwhile for me. And actually, I wanted to show you. I wanted to send you this tweet, and I hope you're able to.
Yeah, we can. Just send it to. Put it. Send it in the chat, and we can open it.
So I'm going to send you just two particular two. This one here, I'm going to send it in the chat. This one is from a lady who is in Gaza, and then this one. So let's start with Noor, and you can do.
Ethan does not look happy.
On the show, but you can. The first one is in Arabic, and you can just do the Google Translate.
I'm pulling this up here, and you should probably be able to see it.
Post.
So it's in Arabic. You guys can see by someone named Noor, and I'm going to translate it.
There you go.
Unable to fetch. Why is he doing that? Well, I can just put it into Google Translate too.
Yes, put it in Google Translate.
Yeah, let me do that.
And yeah, that's weird because on Twitter itself, for me, it translated right.
Oh, here I got. Yeah, okay, thank you. So here's the translation. Would you like me to read it?
Yes, please. I mean, yes, please.
So she says, I don't know if you received this information or not. We in Gaza hate anything called resistance and any resistance fighter. After this war, we guarantee you that there will be no form of resistance, even resistance songs. We will ban them. The peace that will be in Gaza will shock you, and will produce generations that hate the marksmen and will step on the graves of Sinwar and the Daif.
Wow. Daif.
Wow.
So that is a sentiment that is so ubiquitous. That is so wide.
Yeah, dude, holy shit. Do you obviously that was posted in a desperate attempt to do anything to make Israel stop killing them, because they think, of course, there's going to be people that think that Hamas is the reason Israel's killing us, and any kind of resistance must be stamped out so that I can live my life. I mean, it's almost an example of Stockholm Syndrome, where you're trying to do anything in your power so that the person with a gun to your head isn't going to pull the trigger. But unfortunately, that's not going to matter. I mean, this is the negative outcome of this grift, and it's the same fucking shit that Ethan Klein does. They whinge and they moan and they blame the resistance for Israel's actions. Okay, let's get rid of the resistance. What do? We get thousands of Palestinians getting shot at because they're trying to get food. You get ethnic displacement, and then you get ethnic displacement to the southern part of Gaza, starvation, 2 civilian populations, 2 people that are definitionally not resisting, and then you get people in Israel advocating for the expulsion of them from Gaza into other states. So, I mean, the idea that they're focusing on someone desperately trying to do anything they can think of to make Israel stop killing them is actually just straight out disgusting behavior. And it is defending the genocide of Israel, and it's also misinformation, because what is the information they're presenting? The information they're presenting is that if you stop resisting Israel, then Israel will stop killing you. And that's obviously not true.
widespread. But since we're in the show, let's show the other tweet, please. So Issa Amru is a super famous anti-occupation, anti-settlement guy in the West Bank. And at a time when all of these pro-Palestine people in the West are celebrating the murder, saying, kill them all, you know, your own and everybody who's related.
Issa Amro, the murder of any human being should not be justified nor celebrated by anyone. Send Ethan the tweets of people celebrating the murder.
To Israel, read what this guy, who's literally daily being attacked by soldiers and by settlers. Read what he said.
He said, the murder of any human being should not be justified nor celebrated by anyone.
And this guy is literally, if you go to his profile, just really quickly, you can do it on your own leisure, you can do it now or whatever. It is full of, he's an internationally recognized activist. And every day he gets terrorized by settlers who want to take over his house. And every day he gets attacked by them, the hilltop youth and the little ones and the big ones, and they're protected by the soldiers. And a few times the soldiers will come and push them away. Sometimes they'll beat him up. The soldiers will beat them up. The settlers, this guy has suffered so horrendously. And yet somehow, some way, he's able to be in the fulcrum of the military occupation of the Palestine and the dehumanization. And I think the complete awful reality that some Palestinians in the West Bank face. And to say, guys, like, geez, like, what is wrong with you? Like all of these like Western-based people saying like, get him, kill those Zionist, you know, representatives of the state, whatever. So that's
there's a video pinned on his profile today, February 13th. I was detained and beaten violently by an Israeli soldier in Hebron. I was showing the famous American writer Lawrence Wright, the Israeli occupation and apartheid in my hometown. This video is very disturbing. I don't know if you've seen it.
And that's literally all of his like wall.
So this guy manages still to be a true peace activist despite. You know, facing violence on a daily basis.
But also to like...
Dude, what the fuck? Okay. Amro Twitter. What's his pinned tweet? So this is the video Ethan saying. This is the video Ethan refused to play on his channel. I would love to be proven wrong. So, I mean, guys, they're celebrating this man for denouncing a murder of people that apparently people are celebrating, right? And they go, like, this guy sends Ethan a tweet of this person, and he's like, violence should never be celebrated. Wait, he didn't send him this tweet. Without concrete actions which will make the occupation and apartheid costly, nothing will change. To end the war on Gaza, Israel government should be punished by concrete actions from the international community. I wonder what that means. Maybe economic sanctions, maybe even rocket fire into Israel to make like the occupation costly. Wow, he didn't show that tweet, did he? Here's the tweet that he said. Israeli settlers stole my BLM flag and burned it for the Jewish holiday Lag BaOmer. This is the flag of black power and liberation given to me by BLM. Settlers burned it alongside Palestinian flags. We should all stand together against racism occupation. They didn't just send that tweet to post up there. So he tries to show that Western pro-Palestinian advocates are crazy because they're celebrating the death of these two people, which once again they've provided no evidence of. In fact, they've provided evidence of the exact opposite. So they're trying to say that the pro-Palestinian advocates are just like violent people, they support violence, and it's actually like it's the sensible Palestinians that have potential. They're the ones that are more sensible than these leftists.
Leave him!
But they don't show this tweet of the guy actually getting brutalized by Israel, people actually doing violence, people actually supporting a violent regime. They don't show that tweet. because that would undermine the narrative that it's actually the pro-Palestinian protesters that have effectively maintained this genocide by giving Netanyahu a platform, which is a line Ethan Klein actually said. Hassan is giving Netanyahu a platform. Okay, let's watch the video that Ethan won't play.
Don't touch me. Hey! Leave him! I want an ambulance. I don't know. What's the matter with you, guy? Are you so bored?
Looks like another soldier is literally pulling him off of the guy that he just threw to the ground and kicked.
Hide the phone. Send the video to someone. Yes, please. Don't touch me.
Grabs him by the throat, throws him down, kicks him.
Hey! Leave him!
Gets pulled off by other soldiers because he's just having a power trip and just sees him as a subhuman Palestinian that he can do whatever he wants to. That's the video Ethan Klein wouldn't play. I mean, what the fuck, Ethan? You're posting this post that you think supports your point, but then you're not going to play the thing that directly undermines it?
When did we lose the ability?
Pinned on his profile. Today, February 13th, I was detained and beaten violently by an Israeli soldier in Hebron. I was showing the famous American writer Lawrence Wright, the Israeli occupation and apartheid in my hometown. This video is very disturbing. I don't know if you've seen it.
And that's literally all of his like wall.
So
once again, Ethan will literally highlight an article describing in intimate detail the murder of the two people that were killed in DC, but he's not going to show a video of a guy that his Palestinian guest just said was like a really respectable voice for talking about the horrors of what Israel is doing. And he's not going to show that video, but he will post in just like grotesque, intimate details, a murder of people that support Israel, but he's not even willing to show two Israeli guards beating up a Palestinian. I mean, if you need more evidence that Ethan doesn't give a fuck about Palestinians, look no further.
Guy manages still to be a true peace activist despite, facing violence on a daily basis.
Yeah, and he calls for Israel. He calls for the occupation of Israel to be made costly. Are you going to talk about that part of his peace activism? Does this guy call for that? Does Fuad al-Khatib call for the occupation that Israel's doing to be made extremely costly? No, he doesn't. He just blames Palestinians.
When did we lose the ability to say random acts of violence are not okay? Random killings are not okay.
They need asterisks. Everything needs an asterisk, right?
Unless they're Zionists and unless they work for the Zionist regime and unless they're but that's what I'm saying is like this is such a scary because
radical pragmatism.
I'm like imagine a situation where this becomes the actual norm, where political violence in the United States or in Europe or in the Western world, and this is why it is difficult for me and to like Realign for Palestine and my website, my organization, to draw out the Palestinian pragmatists and moderates. A lot of them, they have families. A lot of them have businesses. Some of them started writing things and then they start getting threats on like social media and they're like, "Oh, Ahmed, I'm sorry, I can't do this." Like, I have this. Like, and again, like not everybody can acquire the means and the necessary tools to protect themselves, which I'm very, very well adept at using, and I'm not going to be afraid, and I'm not going to, curl up.
Bro, what are you talking? Why are you talking about? Like, this is the second time he's mentioned the means that he has to protect himself. I've acquired the means to protect myself. See these hands? These hands are lethal weapons. They'll make guys just disappear like that. I get my hands on you, and you're done. You're just finished immediately.
In a corner and be like, "Oh, mommy, I'm afraid." Like, I don't know. Like, I'm right here. I put my name. I put my face. I'm out there.
Oh, he's tough.
I'm not cocky, but like.
He's tough. I didn't realize he's tough.
These embassy staff is the same kind of political violence that the Hamasniks and the terrorists and the Muslim Brotherhood people, they want to normalize against people like myself for challenging Hamas's narrative. And the people who send you, skulls, human skulls, and that kind of garbage. Like this is the slippery slope that we're headed down. And this is
Oh my god. Yeah. I'll just say this. I think those two people in DC would have preferred to get human skulls sent to them than what happened. Like, obviously. I mean, the idea that they're comparing what happened to those people to Ethan Klein is doing them a huge disservice. Are you kidding me? Getting killed? You're comparing that to getting sent skulls? That's fucking insane.
like it takes someone from
This
the
is
West
just a
Bank
victim
facing
pity
war
party.
to say, hey guys, like, can we please, stop and not normalize it?
Yeah, I'd love to see someone like Hassan talk to someone like that, but I just don't think that, again, it's not what's going to drive Twitch primes to him.
Well, so that's my question to you then is, I mean, what do you think? Like I'm curious what you because I don't consider myself or call myself an influencer. I'm a writer, analyst, commentator. I'm an advocate. I'm not, there's there's activism, there's advocacy, and then there's policy. And advocacy is somewhere in between policy and activism, where you have to interface with both communities. But do you think over the years, I mean, why is it that a streaming?
Oh my God.
But for the record, I'm not just.
This guy's so boring to listen to.
Your former colleague. I'm speaking generally.
I mean, once you get past, once you've witnessed just the depravity that he is advocating for, it's just not really boring. It's all kind of like this, or it's not entertaining. It's all kind of the same stuff.
We're in a place right now where a bunch of online streamers and podcasters and whatever, with no real understanding or link to the land or to the issue, are going to develop opinions that we're.
Why do these fucking fascists love that idea? I guess it's just anti-empiricism, and fascists don't like numbers and data and science. They're like, oh, you have no link to the land, so you can't speak on the issue. I mean, I guess it's just that's his grift, and so he feels personally attacked if people that aren't Palestinian are talking about it, because he's like, well, I'm Palestinian, that's part of my grift. I need to maintain the stance that you have to be Palestinian to talk about it.
Supposed to care about, and are going to tell everybody this is what time it is, and then are going to start attacking people like you for retweeting me and saying you're promoting genocide for retweeting Gaza. How did we get here?
I think there's.
And the two of us lived in Israel, and they still dare to tell Ethan, for example, that he doesn't know what he's talking about, even though he lived there for 5 years.
Talking about my empirical.
I'm from there. And,
I think.
Illa, by the way, you're not visible. I wish I would see you.
It's just okay. I think Dan can switch. Yeah.
Oh, there you are. Hello.
When she talks, yeah, then we'll switch to her.
Yes. Let's switch to her because I want you to be. Hi, nice to see you.
It's nice to see you. It's been so amazing to listen to you so far. It's something that I've been craving to hear for so long.
Oh my God. I mean, props for being mask off. Oh, I loved that you came onto my show and spouted pro-genocide propaganda. I've been craving to hear it so much. I've just been waiting to fill my ear holes with the idea that everything that's happening in Gaza is to be blamed on the Palestinians. I love that. I've been craving to hear it.
5 years.
Talking about my empirical.
I'm from there.
Ethan almost said talking about my empirical evidence. He thinks seeing a Palestinian drinking a coffee at a coffee shop is empirical evidence that there's no apartheid. This man is one of the stupidest people on the internet.
And,
I think.
Illa, by the way, you're not visible. I wish.
Yeah.
Oh, there you are. Hello.
When she talks, yeah, then we'll switch to her.
Yes. Let's switch to her because I don't want you to be. Hi, nice to see you.
It's nice to see you. It's been so amazing to listen to you so far. It's something that I've been craving to hear for so long from anybody, and it's just it went straight into my heart. Everything you said.
That would be a good meme. Hasbara, and then Gila's like, I crave it, some kind of 1960s cereal commercial.
Well, and I want to just acknowledge that you're also you're from Israel. You have family there. You're you have a right to speak about this. This impacts you, and this impacts your family, your folks, and where you're from.
So you have a right to speak about it if it impacts you in some way. Ugh. I mean, it's not a new tact. It's just disgusting every time you hear it being used.
But it's why? Yeah, why?
God damn it, Maria.
I'm supposed to care what a bunch of streamers and podcasters.
So I think there's like a whole vortex of bad things happening. One, people are super disillusioned with like the media, so that nobody wants to get their news from the media. That's where suckers get their news. Also, like, we're at a point in American society when capitalism is really not at its finest hour. There's huge disparities, and a lot of people feel helpless, right? And they feel they don't see positive outcomes coming in the status quo. And I think a lot of people, leftist ideology, socialism, communism, Marxism, whatever, is becoming popular. And in this worldview, it's very much oppressor, oppressee. I mean, I know that's almost become like a talking point, but it is genuinely just the truth. Is that they see the worldview doesn't allow them to see complications. They'll look you in the face and say, what's happening in Israel is not complicated. Israel's the bad guy, Hamas is the good guys. And like, they're incapable of doing that because in their worldview, there's the colonizer and there's the colonized, and it's up to the colonizers, the colonized.
Do you disagree with that? I mean, this would be my if I was talking to Ethan, this would be my question to him. If Israel just stopped bombing and they stopped sieging Gaza, do you think that would be better, or do you think that would be worse? Right? Like, or do you think it would be no change? Because if the answer is like, if Israel just stopped doing what they're doing, things would get better, then it's not a complicated situation. Israel is unequivocally bad, and it should stop. That, like, in a genocide, there aren't good guys. There's the people doing the genocide, and then there's the people getting genocided, right? Like, Israel's not getting genocided. It's not a Venn diagram where genocide is bleeding into both sides of Israel and Gaza. And maybe like 90% of the genocide is on the Gazan side, right? There's one side getting genocided, right? It's not a complex issue in that regard. Let's stop the genocide. Maybe when we talk about solutions and how to actually go about enacting these solutions, it could be a little bit more complicated and nuanced, but we're not at that point yet. I mean, bro, do you think Israel's not colonizing Gaza? They're pretty explicit about it.
Colonized to kill, take over, resist the colonizers, and
take over the colonizers.
Really, I think that the amount of these people I hope to God that it's somewhat exaggerated because of how we perceive them. I mean, Twitter and TikTok and online, you see Hassan, who's become like, was the #1 political streamer until recently, but
dude, he's so sad. He's so sad
of terrible conditions. That's kind of making people, scrambling people's brains. It's just, and I mean, obviously, there's a lot of like introspection to go on there. I mean, like our government, our capital. I am a social democrat. I believe capitalism is a good system, but the way it's working right now is dysfunctional, and it's not working. And so the people are feeling hopeless.
It's not a good
that's
system.
When you get these kinds of radical ideologies and these people who are just so disillusioned that they're willing to kill.
I love that people are disillusioned as they're fucking paying $100,000 a year.
Well, that's the ironic part, right?
To go to Columbia and Harvard.
The true irony.
As they're making millions from streaming.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's the irony, right? And I feel like this is kind of common within communist revolutions too. Is that
not ironic at all?
Who,
why would you not be disillusioned with the system after participating in it? They're like, oh, you went to Columbia and then you got disillusioned with the system? Wow, so ironic. That's how they got disillusioned, by participating in it. I mean, it's so fucking stupid.
As the
I mean, it's just three like actually dumb people talking with each other.
They become the thought leaders to the proletariat, and it's almost like a sick joke. It's true.
Okay, fuck this shit. I just wanted to watch it until the point where he was like, oh, I've been craving hearing genocide propaganda on my show. Thank you for doing it. That's the only part of this that I wanted to watch too. So I honestly don't care. Yeah, sure. Don't donate to him because it is fucking charity fraud. Like, it's just going to his own organization. Check out Ahmed's org, Realign for Palestine here. And it's, this section is called Donate to Palestine. And they have 2 links of donations. The World Food Program's Gaza Fund. You can click on it. There's no Gaza Fund to donate to. Look. Emergency. Oh, you can go here then. Emergency in Gaza and the West Bank. Families urgently need food. Once again, it's not that they need more food. There's enough food. the conflict. Make 100% tax-deductible emergency contribution now. It's working around the clock to provide life-saving food to people experiencing extreme hunger, but support is desperately needed. Once again, it's not that more food is needed, it's that you need to get the food actually inside of Gaza. What are they going to say? Families across the Gaza Strip are at risk of famine. Millions of people are homeless and fully dependent on food assistance. Enough food to feed 1 million people is positioned at aid corridors and is ready to be brought into Gaza. So, yeah, there's already food to feed 1 million people ready there. Like, it says it right here. So, yeah, that's not going to make a difference. Noah Samson did a donation to UNRWA, and there's actually, like, I think there's like 13,000 UNRWA employees inside of Gaza that you can fund. What do we got here? Oh, 310 UNRWA staff killed in Gaza. How many are in? Also, it's a little bit optimistic to say 2.3 million Palestinians are in Gaza. But anyway, that was kind of sad. I'm going to end it with, let's see, breaking points. I'm just so fucking tired of talking about Ethan Klein. He just gets worse every time. This is what I wanted to watch. I'm at Vigland on breaking points and see what, just to like take a little bit of a refresher, stop talking about the genocide that's going on because it's been dark and talking about it takes a long time. Let's talk about stupid podcasting. Yeah, there's food and aid on the other side of the border. Okay.
So interesting comments from Andrew Schultz and Charlemagne, who were, talking about the state of the Democratic Party.
And I have too many tabs open on this computer.
At large, let's go ahead and take a listen. They were reflecting also a little bit on that Bernie Sanders conversation with Flagrant, which did you watch that, Emma?
Yeah, I did. I thought it was really good overall, although I would say that Bernie's had some great conversations with some of this people in this podcast sphere, and they still go right, like Rogan, but we'll see.
True.
I mean,
well, he's only one man. What can you do?
Exactly.
All right, let's go ahead and take a listen to this clip.
You know what the reflection is, and Bernie said it on Flagrant. Everybody's to fucking blame. This ain't a Democrat thing. It's not a Republican thing. This is government has failed the people. We live in a capitalist society where you got all of these motherfuckers with all the wealth. Elon Musk has more wealth than more than half of the bottom of America? Yeah. Like, come on. Yeah. Like, there's no way we live in a society that claims to be the most wealthiest society on the planet and we can't fix homelessness.
Well, in that case, the Democrats' pivot should be to go more socialist.
Yeah.
Which I'm fine with.
Yes, they should. That's what everybody's
and that's
saying.
Bernie.
That's what everybody's saying.
Because the Republican solution to what you just described is going to be
deregulate
more capitalism.
So they say the Democrat solution should be to go more socialist. What do you think, Emma?
I love to hear that, obviously. I think, that there's more of an appetite for this. I know you've spoken about this a lot within Democratic voters than I have seen since
Ukraine,
I've been doing
Israel.
this professionally, or since I've been paying attention to politics, where there's this understanding where it's like we see Donald Trump wield the executive branch in a way, sometimes in ways I think are stretching the boundaries of our law, to put it mildly, but with the desire to govern and to be aggressive with his vision. However much I may disagree with many parts of that vision, it's highlighted the weakness of the Democrats, which also I think was evident in how Netanyahu quite clearly had his finger on the pulse of how weak the Democratic Party is, how he...
Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, my position on this would be that it's a good thing when podcasters be like, Democrats should be socialist. But that's not obviously that's not going to be the total output of their message. That's not going to be what they message on. That's not their actual position on things. It's just like an idea they're throwing around there. I mean, I would be pleasantly surprised if Charlemagne, because I know Andrew Schultz he's like a right-winger, but I'd be pleasantly surprised if Charlemagne does stuff like that and he actually sticks to that message. I just don't know if that's going to be the message. Like, it could have just been because Bernie Sanders was on. But if a Bernie Sanders appearance on these shows gets them to talk about how, oh, socialism seems to be the answer, then keep having socialists go on those shows.
Could exploit that tension there, and you see it in also electoral results with the Democrats, right? It's encouraging to hear that, just because I think. I was just having a conversation with one of my good friends from growing up, who listens to Rogan and listens to like Theo Vaughn and things like that. And she was just talking about how Bernie Sanders makes a lot of sense when he goes on some of these shows. And I wish every Democrat could be talking about healthcare like that. This person's also kind of interested in RFK. And you see how, like, with the right having success in certain areas, like say, let's take RFK Jr. and Trump adopting him into his coalition, for example. There's this massive anxiety in this country that people have around the issue of healthcare. And it's not just because they're worried about getting sick. Everybody in the world has that concern. But it's because medical debt is the #1 cause of bankruptcy in this country. It's because you have anxiety that you're going to have to pay hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for routine visits to check if you're okay. You're going to have to pay a bunch of money if your kid has some sort.
Yeah, this reminds me of that abundance argument that I was having. And at the end of the day, it's like you need to pick a position of what you're actually campaigning on and campaigning for. Are you going, and who you're campaigning to? Are you going to campaign to people that are going to build housing? Are you going to campaign to like the developers? Are you going to campaign towards rich people that like want to build more pools or build a shed or like buy another house or develop the garage into an Airbnb? Are you going to campaign for them and advocate for like less regulation? Or are you going to campaign to people that can't afford rent and they're roommates with someone and they don't want to be, they want to go live by themselves, something like that? And are you going to be like, yeah, we're going to expand government services if you vote for us, and then like we're going to make it so that you have healthcare taken care of, we're going to take care of your school debt, we're going to make sure that there's like more low-income housing that you can live in, and we're going to really just take care of you and expand services. I think that's what people really want to see, because we're seeing the dissolution of services in this country, and it's not really helping people at all. Piers Morgan blasted an Israeli. Okay, let's just watch this, and then I'm going to end the stream. I've been going for like almost 4 hours, but
you said there were 50.
Yeah, RFK is bad news. Here we go. Let's watch his interview with this woman.
Can all this go on? Well, I'm joined by Israeli Ambassador to the UK, Zippy Hotovelli. Ambassador, welcome back to Uncensored.
Good evening, Piers.
Incredibly damning comments from two former prime ministers of Israel and a former deputy chief of staff of the Israeli army. When you hear...
Oh, yeah, what's his name? Olmer. Ehud Olmer says that the country's committing war crimes. Oh no, he's so anti-Semitic. He said Israel's committing war crimes.
What they have to say. Surely it gives you pause for thought, doesn't it?
Well, it's quite obvious for someone like you that understands politics that those people are coming from the opposition. Their job, in their opinion, is to fight whatever the government is doing. I think it's very anti-patriotic not to support Israel's war when we are fighting the most justified war in the world against a terror group that committed the worst atrocities at the 7th of October. Just today, we remember 600 days that we still have 58 hostages.
Listening to someone like this makes me understand why there is an appetite for grifters like Ahmed Al-Khatib. Like, at least he says that he's pro-Palestinian. Maybe he can get invited onto this Piers Morgan show.
Captivity. And I'm afraid to say, nowadays in Israel, you can't find even...
Like, you have either straight up Nazis that are like, oh no, we're fighting the most just war, it's unpatriotic if you criticize us, and Hamas is like just subhuman animals that must be eradicated from the face of the earth. And then you have little worms like Ethan Klein and Ahmed Al-Khatib, where they're like, oh no, like I think what Israel's doing is bad, but it's actually the fault of the Arabs that Israel's killing. Like you have those two groups that are defending Israel now.
One leader that will say he's willing to live with Hamas on its doorstep. So if those people have any criticism, they should offer a plan how Hamas will be removed from the Gaza Strip, from controlling the doorstep of Israel, not committing the 7th of October again. I didn't...
Oh, the Gaza Strip is the doorstep of Israel. Holy shit. She can't even like pretend like she wants a two-state solution. It's the doorstep of Israel. Israel basically owns it. Wow. I've never really heard that before. Gaza is the doorstep of Israel. That's crazy. I mean, once again, this is what Ethan Klein is advocating for. Deep down, he knows that a two-state solution will only lead to Israel, you know, if there are Palestinians left in Gaza, utilizing like concentration camp-like conditions to completely control Gaza, make it completely docile to them, and take away any kind of independence. And he also probably knows that like the solution is going to be the final solution, the complete ethnic cleansing of the Gaza Strip.
Get to hear that not from European leaders that are criticizing Israel, and not from those opposition former leaders. So I must say that in the end of the day, Israel has a serious threat on its security. You will agree with that. No one
you will agree with that. She's doing Jedi mind tricks.
Like we've seen at the 7th of October. And in order to do that, the aims of the war are still relevant. We want to bring back our hostages, and we want to make sure Hamas won't control the Gaza Strip. Every leader in the world, in the Western world, agrees on those two aims.
You know, you and I have spoken regularly, or on a number of occasions.
You will agree that this is the most moral army.
Israel had an absolute right and indeed duty to its people to defend itself after those appalling attacks, and my position about that hasn't changed. But I also kept asking one question, which was, what is a proportionate response? And I've got to tell you that in the last few weeks, I have found the Israeli government strategy in Gaza to be utterly disproportionate. And I'll explain to you why. When you launch a blockade for nearly 3 months...
Proportionate? What is this proportionate?
Much of their possessions, their land, their buildings, their homes decimated by bombardment after bombardment. When you say that you're going to launch a blockade on aid and food to a population where 50% are under 18, you are pursuing, it seems to me, as Ehud Olmert said, a policy of starvation towards, obviously, because of the nature of the population in Gaza, of a lot of children.
There is no Gaza without Hamas. There is no Palestinians without Hamas.
I mean, what else do you call it?
Actually, I guess she has like a British accent.
At the facts, and you should look at the facts. Letting in 25,000 trucks with tons of aid, this is not a policy of starvation.
We've left in 25,000 trucks.
From the beginning of the war, we created a very clear distinction between the terrorists. We're talking about
you didn't.
That invaded themselves in population, as you know. Just now, you just mentioned Mohammed Sinwar. He was found under a hospital, under the European hospital. He was hiding there because he knows exactly how the world reacts when Israel attacks hospitals. But those hospitals being abused and being used as a terror facilities. This is why Israel is allowed to operate there. Now, I'm going back to the policy of aid. In the last few days, as you know, Israel is launching a new program, a new mechanism to deliver aid because, unfortunately, and I'm saying that with a big pain, Hamas...
Bitch, go 11 weeks without eating. Go ahead. Go 11 weeks without eating, and then we'll give you like a few crumbs. We'll dribble it on your face.
Was looting the aid that all the world wanted to be let into Gaza. Now, everyone is interested that the population won't be starving. We don't want to see pictures of children that don't have something to eat. We all share the same interest, but at the same time...
Bro, she can't even say we don't want them to starve. She's like, we don't want to see pictures of children that have nothing to eat. Yeah, that's why you ban journalists and you criticize any kind of journalistic outlet that posts videos and images coming out of Gaza.
If Hamas is looting the aid, then we are empowering the war machine. And according to the...
What war machine? What war machine is Hamas doing? What? The war machine of making like prosthetic limbs for children? Is that what you're empowering?
The world has obligation to feed the war machine of the enemy. And this is what happened in the last few months. This is why Israel had to change the mechanism. This is why American companies are involved. So we'll have a buffer. We won't have to see Israeli soldiers combating Hamas while they're trying to loot the aid. The whole procedure is much more effective.
Why do you have Israeli soldiers in Gaza in the first place?
Putting barriers for the population not to receive these aid. This is the same Hamas that uses...
This is the same Hamas?
So we are talking about situation. It's very difficult, very complicated.
No, it's not.
Fighting the Hamas terror.
Bro, immediately doing the Ethan Klein line. We're talking about situation, very difficult, very complicated. No, what? It's not. It's so complicated that it's solved by just letting the Palestinians get food. Oh my God, it's so complicated. Very difficult. Very complicated.
We still want aid to get in. And the mechanism, I believe, that Israel is putting now forward is so much better than the one that, at the end of the day, is empowering Hamas.
She's saying this the day after it got completely raided because they couldn't handle the amount of hungry people that were trying to get through. And then they killed like 16 Palestinians just from shooting into the crowds. What the fuck? You think this is better than just letting aid trucks go in and distribute aid using aid distribution centers that have already been set up? I mean, the only reason you wanted to do this in the first place is to ethnically cleanse Gaza of all Palestinians.
The problem is that whilst you're saying all this and trying to justify it, you've got people like Smodrich coming out and making it absolutely crystal clear what the real plan is, which is to completely clean out Gaza of all the Palestinians.
Thank you, Piers.
Third country. That is
Piers unironically doing better journalism than the BBC did.
genocide. It's the deliberate targeting of people based on ethnicity and displacing them from their homes and killing a lot of them in the process. I don't know what else you would call it. I've resisted using the word genocide about this, but when I watched what Mr. Smodrich was saying and studied the exact words that he said, it is very hard to reach any other conclusion than...
Piers, Mr. Smodrich is speaking metaphorically. He means Hamas. We starve Hamas.
That he is waging a strategy of genocide and would like to cleanse, as he put it, the whole Gaza Strip of all the Palestinians. So you can try and dress up that blockade, which is what it was for 3 months, where we saw the starving children you say you're concerned about, but you've got Smodrich there actually laying bare the real plan, which is to get all the Palestinians out of Gaza. And that is a form of genocide, isn't it?
Piers, you don't understand. Smodrich, he was not speaking in English. That was for Israeli ears only, Piers.
What else do you call it?
Well, let's begin with the fact that if you listen to the British media, you get the assumption that Smotrich is the Israeli prime minister. Well, he's not. He's not the one who's running the policy on aid. And the policy you just quoted is actually...
So is he a liar?
No, all I'm saying is that his policy, his statements are not standing in one line with Israel's policy. This is as a matter of fact.
His statements are not standing in line with Israeli policy? Would you care to explain where they differ? Would you care to explain where they differ?
Back to what you quoted basically President Trump's plan. And President Trump's plan is speaking about making Gaza a better place. Gaza will be a better place without having a terror hub.
Piers, Gaza would be much better without Palestinians. Gaza is Israel's doorstep.
Without having the underground tunnel city, without having people firing on
underground tunnel city.
There were more rockets being fired from Gaza to Ashkelon, to some Israeli southern cities. We are not interested with any of that. And I just want to remind you, just in case you're so interested with finishing the war can finish today. If Hamas will surrender, if Hamas will make sure that no weapons in Gaza, if we'll see demilitarization...
Motherfucker, Israel just shot up Palestinians that you explicitly said Hamas didn't exist in. I mean, this is just a lie. It's just a lie.
Of the Gaza Strip, and if our hostages are back home, the war will be ending today. I mean, just imagine that.
All right, but let me ask you though. But you accept that Israel has the strongest military in the Middle East, right? I am the proud owner of 2 cats, which are named.
The fuck is this? An ad break?
Population that's been hit by a terror organization. We're a small country.
Oh, this entire thing is an interview. All right, we'll watch a little bit more of this.
A small country that its border being invaded.
Fine, I just asked you a question.
Hey, you graduated. Congratulations.
We do, but at the same time, we're a very vulnerable country when we are surrounded by radical Islamists, including backed up by Iran.
Oh my God.
I'm not here to...
Bro, we're running the full gamut today of Israeli propaganda. What the fuck? We're surrounded. We're a very vulnerable country surrounded by radical Islamists.
Defend that. I'm not here to defend Hamas, or I think the despicable terror organization. But you said there were 50,000 Hamas. Others have put the total figure at around 25,000, which begs the question, if after 18, 19 months now, you have been waging this ferocious war against 25, 26,000 terrorists, and you still haven't defeated them, you still can't get your hostages released, they're still not being released.
I mean, this is just good, and this is good propaganda to use against fascists by basically saying that they're completely inept. Oh, so you say that you're a very powerful army, right? Yes, but we're also weak because we're surrounded by Islamist terrorists. Okay, but there's only 25,000 Islamist terrorists in Gaza, and you guys haven't done that? You haven't finished the job in a year and a half? What's wrong with you? Like, how come you haven't done that yet? Small b.
It's clear to most people that your strategy is failing. But what you're doing is ramping up the attacks, ramping up the devastation, ramping up the clearing out of Gaza. You've got members of the cabinet openly saying they want to get rid of all the Palestinians and get them into another country. So it seems to everybody else that what you're actually doing is not winning any war against Hamas. In fact, many people think that the intelligence...
Just like a caption underneath her face, formulating next Hasbara response.
That the Americans have received for every Hamas terrorist you killed, they've already been replaced multiple times with people with the same ideology. And that would explain why you can't get the hostages out. And in fact, the hostages, the more you bombard Gaza, the more you would say that their own lives become imperiled. And the overriding picture, which is what's getting Israel so much opprobrium around the world, is that your strategy isn't working. There's no clear plan for what happens at the end of all this. Hamas is still clearly alive and well and thriving. Yes, you've killed another one of their leaders today, but you killed his brother, who was the architect of October the 7th months ago, and that didn't seem to make any difference to Hamas's ability to continue engaging in battle with you. And the argument remains, how many Palestinian civilian innocent lives, women...
Piers, maybe if I tilt my head in and get the right angle, I can pick up reception from Tel Aviv to get to next Hasbara attacking point.
Children, are you prepared to kill as you continue going after Hamas when it doesn't appear that you're winning that battle, that strategy is failing?
Pierce, how many Japanese children were killed under American attacks, and how many German children were killed under UK attacks in the Second World War? Listen, I mean...
Piers, we have not nuked Gaza. We would, but we can't because it's Israel's doorstep. So we have not nuked them. We have shown restraint, Piers. What the? Oh my God, dude. Immediately comes in at the, we have a right to nuke Palestine. We need to... That's not a defense. Like, what are you doing? That's not a defense of the claim that you're ethnically cleansing the region and you're doing indiscriminate bombing. You're like, we're not doing indiscriminate bombing. We're actually we just want to nuke them.
If you want to play a fair game, you need to understand how Western armies operated in the past. Israel is not anywhere near to the American attacks.
Western army.
100,000 civilians, and not anywhere near to what the UK was doing in the Second World War. Now, when I'm looking about a strategy, I get to hear all the...
You're comparing it to a world war. It's the fucking, like, densest, it's the densest region in the world. And you're comparing the civilian casualties that you're inflicting to get 50 hostages out. I think it was like, what, like a couple hundred hostages immediately after October 7th. You're comparing that to a world war on the raw number, not to mention the percentages, which is off the charts, but raw number. She's comparing the raw numbers of deaths to world wars. How?
People criticize Israel today, including yourself, and then I'm asking you this question. If Israel finishes the war today and Hamas stays on our doorstep, what kind of future do you promise my children? A future that 7th of October will happen again and again, just like Hamas leaders promise? This is what you expect the Israelis or the Israeli leadership to accept?
Hamas should not be allowed to run a Welk stall at the end of all this. They should
so
have
how do you
yeah, neither should Israel.
How do you achieve that?
Well,
who's volunteering there to demilitarize the Gaza Strip?
She's basically just advocating for genocide. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna go. Wait, hold on, one more thing, because this looks kind of funny. I just want to hear Trump say, very nasty situation.
The man filming this scene is quoting from the Quran, invoking the apocalypse. Perhaps those below think they're staving it off after nearly 3 months of Israeli blockade. Here at last, a warehouse full of flour. In central Gaza, it belongs to the World Food Programme. The UN workers, he says, simply melted away as the crowd surged in. Multiple reports of injuries and deaths in the melee.
Holy shit, I mean, I think it was due to shooting.
Follows yesterday's chaos in the far south at a distribution center belonging to the controversial US-Israeli-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. GHF today called this a brief and intentional relaxation of its security protocols, adding that no Palestinians were fired upon and there were no casualties. But our team witnessed a number of injured people making their way north, The UN says 47 were injured and has today again condemned the GHF operation.
And 3 dead from bullets, not because of crowd surges, from bullets.
Repeated its criticism of the UN, saying it was joining Hamas, mafia-like, in trying to block the GHF. Today, it said it had now given out nearly 15,000 food boxes over 2 days. For all the chaos of this week, to get a sense of Gaza's reality, perhaps better to follow these footsteps. Past rotting debris, beneath circling Israeli drones. They belong to Yara. 10 years old, she's turned provider for her mother and her 7 siblings.
Oh my god, dude. 10 years old, providing for your mother and 7 siblings?
This is her destination, an improvised soup kitchen in northern Jabalia.
Bro, it's all kids. What the hell? It's all kids there getting food for their family.
Step back, I want to fill your pots, but you have to move back, he says. Yara is at the back. The stakes are high, but she waits her turn.
She's bringing that home for 8 people, excluding her. It's supposed to be enough for us, but it isn't.
Yara says these long walks scare her. She's worried about shelling, about being hit by shrapnel out here.
Oh, she's not worried about Hamas? Where's that fucking guy, Ahmed al-Khatib? Oh, I thought Hamas was the one that was getting so fascist and authoritarian that people were just, had no choice but to resist against it, even the risking getting shelled by Israeli drones and F-16s.
Alone.
I thought she would be worried about Hamas coming and stealing her aid. But she's worried about getting killed by Israel? What?
Scare her. She's worried about shelling, about being hit by shrapnel out here alone. But she's more worried about her siblings going hungry. Their father is in the West Bank. He went there for medical treatment before the war. He's stuck. His wife and children have no source of income.
بكيف لما انا اجيب لهم خليهم ياكلوا بدل ما يضلهم جعانين هيك.
The next time we meet her, the
bro, she's so cute. What the fuck?
City,
oh my god, this is so sad.
Beautiful, eating breakfast, packing a school bag, helping tidy a house long since destroyed.
اختلف كل شيء مع الحرب إلا ما عدا علاقتي مع أمي وأخواتي. بخاطر بحالي بروح أجيب تكية عشان ما ياكلوا ما يضلهمش هيك.
طيبتها زادت مع الحرب والله يعني صارت طيبة كثير وبتحزن على اخوتها بتحزن عليهم فيش أكل وشرب هي بتروح تجيب لهم يعني بتساعدنا من جميع النواحي. شاطرة يارا.
Yara finished her last school year 2 years ago with top grades. She wants to be a teacher, but this is her job for now. And on this occasion, walking new streets, she's too late. She returns with the pot still empty. She's crushed, says her mother. One more child in Gaza, carrying far more than she can bear.
Bro, this is so fucked up.
Editor Lindsay Hilsum is in Israel as the country marks 600 days since October 7th, and she joins us now from Hostage Square in Tel Aviv.
Krishnan, of course, there are other victims of this war. 58 hostages, Israeli hostages, taken 600 days ago, and 20 of them, only 20, are believed to still be alive. Behind me in Hostage Square, as it's become known, they're trying to keep them in the public eye because the people here, relatives and friends and supporters of the hostages, think that their government, the Israeli government, just doesn't care. Earlier in the day, there were protests all around Tel Aviv and in other places too, and they had a simple message for the government. Stop fighting, start talking. And it seems that the Americans are paying more attention than the Israelis, because the Americans, they got one of the final American hostage, they got him out through a deal with Hamas, and they are still talking. And in fact, a few hours ago, Steve Witkoff, that's President Trump's envoy, came out and he seemed to be expressing some
I know. They go from a 10-year-old girl who's just breaks down and starts crying when she can't get a bowl of soup to feed her 7 siblings and her mother, and then they go to Tel Aviv and immediately start talking about the hostages. I mean, look, you got to report on it. You have to report on what's happening within Israel too, but it just feels so fucking tone deaf, man. to go from a family starving to death to people protesting against the genocidal government, not because of the genocide, but because there's still hostages being kept. Like, soldiers too. Like, there's still soldiers being held in Gaza as prisoners of war.
Optimism.
I think that we are on the precipice of sending out a new term sheet that hopefully will be delivered later on today.
Ghoul.
And I have
Ghoul.
some very good feelings about getting to a long-term resolution, temporary ceasefire, and a long-term resolution, a peaceful resolution of that conflict.
Well, it's not clear where the Israeli government is in all this because they had stopped negotiating and withdrawn their negotiators from Qatar. And what Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister, fears that is if he does negotiate, then his government will fall because the far right that keeps it going wants to keep fighting. But he needs the support of President Trump and the Americans. You know, earlier this week, I was at a left-wing demonstration where they were protesting against the war, against the killing of Gazan children. And I saw a man in a T-shirt I would never have expected to see in a left-wing demonstration. It said, "In Trump, we trust."
Lindsay Hilson in Tel Aviv. Well, a little earlier, I spoke to Amjad Al-Shawar, the director of the Palestine NGOs network in Gaza, who joined me via the internet from Gaza City. And I asked him to describe what's happening today.
It's a horrible situation with full meaning that we are passing through. That you could see the tens of thousands only in Rafah area. That's not in Gaza City. I'm based in Gaza City. No aid entered. It's about 3 months now. Nothing we received in Gaza and the north. These starved people had to walk about 2.5 hours to reach this area for distribution.
2.5 hours.
It's kind of humanitarian hub. It's kind of military hub.
And do you think that's going to work as a system to try and feed the population?
Nothing can replace the humanitarian system that we all have all over the world context. This is something that hurt the humanitarian principle, and in the same time, it's insult the human beings.
And so if you say there's no aid coming to you, I mean, how are you managing? What are you living on?
This kind of suffocation, we are managing to live with only half a meal. I cannot imagine it's a meal. Sometimes we are depending on community kitchens to have some rice, and who managed to buy with about 1,000 times expenses, the expensive the things that we are buying if we manage to buy things. So it's a big issue for the Gazans to live here.
There is talk of a possible negotiation around another deal brokered by the Americans. Do you think people want Hamas to do that deal now?
Yes. It's not from today, from the early beginning that we're pushing every actor all over the world to push all Israel and Hamas to reach an agreement.
What if that means Hamas leaving and relinquishing power? Do people want that?
Already, Hamas said that. I'm not the spokesman of Hamas, but already we have this Egyptian plan, which is, it's there. And this approved by all the political parties, that a new governance body will come. So it's few months ago that it was issued by the Egyptians and it's approved by all the Palestinian actors. The problem is Israel now to approve this.
And we know why they're not doing this, right? Because they don't care about Hamas. They care about the fact that there's Palestinian bodies within Gaza. And so when you get guys like Hamas, or when you get guys like Ethan Klein, Lonerbox, Ahmed Al-Khatib, Ela Klein, blaming Hamas for everything that the Israel government is doing, they're just lying. They're just lying. There is no Hamas surrendering which would get Israel to stop It's genocide. There is no returning of the hostages, which would get Israel to stop its genocide. Israel is intent on stopping the genocide, or Israel is intent on stopping the genocide through finishing it. And yeah, nothing's going to change their mind. Nothing that Hamas does is going to change their mind. Like maybe there's something that Trump can do, like by putting pressure on Israel, stopping the UN, like vetoing UN resolutions about Israel. Maybe there's diplomatic, economic pressure that can be added, maybe even military pressure by like stopping the sales of weapons to Israel. But there's really nothing that the Palestinians can do. And so, once again, by blaming them, that is doing defense for a genocide.
Agree on this.
And so what do you think the next step is going to be?
If there will be no ceasefire, I have high concerns that, as Netanyahu said, he will establish concentration camps for the people of Gaza in the south area in Rafah, which almost destroyed now, in order to deport them and to reoccupy Gaza. All of Gaza will be occupied.
We're on the 600th day of this war now. Did you ever imagine this would go on this long?
No, ever. In the worst nightmares, I couldn't imagine this happened to us as Palestinians, to have tens of thousands of people were killed, 90% of Gaza destroyed, and to have such desperate starvation. You know that it's not only Israel. The international community failed the children of Gaza. They witnessed.
The international community failed the children of Gaza.
Children. 17,000 children, infants were killed. Women, elders. The majority of people who were killed and injured, they were civilians.
Amjad Shawa, thank you very much.
Holy shit. All right, we're going to end it there. Man. I just can't fucking believe that Ethan Klein pulled up that guy, Issa Amro, and she saw the pinned tweet, and they didn't do anything.
Now we know.
They didn't do anything about it. They didn't play it at all. All they did was say that, the fuck is this? All they did was say that, like, oh, he's more like peace loving than the violent extremists and on the Western left. So anyway, maybe we can watch this later, but I'm gonna call it. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Thank you for commenting. If you want your name to be in green, please consider subscribing. It's only 99 cents a month, and I'll be talking to you later. See ya.